Do you actually have to leave your hometown to become successful? Can you make it where you were born? I started with this tweet quite a while ago, and it went something like this. Never be afraid to leave your hometown to grow. It's too easy to stay the same when the scene does. Your people love you as you are now, and they'll fear losing that you. Your hometown, it'll be there. But if you truly want to change, you need to go to a place that is changed. And I kind of believed that. But then I tried something else.
You did. Like right before we hopped on this recording, you tweeted, do you know anyone who is really successful, lives in their hometown, and has never left to work anywhere else? My favorite tweet was, Jesus couldn't even preach in Nazareth. Jesus was from Nazareth.
Fuck, that's good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I was like, oh my gosh, that one's good. And then another person made a great comment. Yep, it helps to be a Silicon Valley local. I feel like the same thing probably about like New York City. And then another person, no, staying in your hometown will rust you as a ship that doesn't do what it's built for.
So let's narrow the scope, because that's what a bunch of people commented. Let's define success as money and earnings. And let's be really specific. Top 1% earners, which is somewhere around $823,000 a year. Can you be a top 1% earner and stay in your hometown? And what are the examples of humans who have actually done that? I think having a really specific goal helps you figure out how to get a really specific answer. So we did a bunch of homework on this, right? And we found some fascinating research on the one key determinant that will decide for most young people if they're going to be successful or not. And it's fascinating. It's two words. It's called economic interconnectedness or economic connectedness. And basically what happened is there was a research study done on thousands of kids in neighborhoods that had the same socioeconomic demographics, aka like child A had kind of a same economic background as child B. One child was in Minneapolis, relatively poor, same sort of situation as this other group that was in another city that wasn't Minneapolis. So same low income children, two different cities. And what was really interesting is the kid who was in Minneapolis, which is an economically connected city, which means people from high incomes, people from low incomes hang out together. They have interactions together. That kid had a 33% higher income by the time that kid was 35 than the kid who came from the same economic family, but because the city wasn't economically interconnected, that kid earns 33% less over time. So what does that kind of mean wrapped with a bow on it? That being around rich people seems to help you become more rich. And I'm just using that one example of that kid from Minneapolis, but there's, thousands that were done in this study so that they found it statistically significant, aka it actually has a strong predictor for most children. And in fact, they said that is the strongest predictor of upward mobility found to date. Now, they don't say why, but it seems to me like if you're around other rich people, perhaps you can be what you can see and you cannot be what you cannot see. And then we're like, all right, is this just one study? Because those can be flawed. So we went to another study called Public Source, and they basically say the same thing a different way, which is the neighborhood or environment where you grow up is really going to affect your earnings potentials by and large without any other indicators in there. Then in Pittsburgh, adults born in Point Breeze, just one city, averaged $70,000 in salary and 78% had a job, as compared to Shady Side, which is another segment of Pittsburgh, which had an average income of $22K and an employment rate of $76K. And they call this the zone of proximal development, which basically means if you are born in a low income neighborhood, which we already kind of know, that then you are more likely to stay in said low income neighborhood if your geography doesn't change. Remember when you guys were in high school and we had those Petri dishes and we would like put little different things inside the Petri dish and then they would grow depending on what different things were inserted into the Petri dish. And at some point, you'd insert one little piece of bacteria into a Petri dish and all of a sudden mold would grow like crazy. You'd insert something else and there'd be crystals inside of your Petri dish. Now you start with the same Petri dish and you start with the same base, but depending on what you add, something different grows. And I think that's what this study is telling you, that if you do not add different things and you stay in the same place, you largely will stay the same as everybody else. And then there's this other study that talks about the zone of proximal development, which basically is this concept that a learner has one ability without help and another ability with help if it comes from a more knowledgeable person, which is like, yeah, no shit, Cody. But basically what this means is mentorship and being what you can see is a real thing. We can actually statistically say that if you are around more people that have XYZ, you are more likely to have XYZ, that thing that you are trying to achieve. Paul Graham had a really interesting sort of series of articles that we wrote on. And if you don't know Paul, he was an early investor in a ton of stuff: Stripe, Airbnb, Amazon, Dropbox. He says roots grow where planted. Your environment shapes your ambitions. And then he says great cities attract ambitious people. So if you want to create, maybe you go to Austin. Those are my words. If you want to make money, you go to New York, or where Rachel is. If you want to be innovative, you go to Silicon Valley. If you want to raise venture, you go to Silicon Valley. And so what if the reason you don't achieve what you want to achieve is because your surroundings do not allow you to insert different things into your petri dish? So in some ways, you lie for a living doing magic tricks. Can you also tell if somebody is lying to you?
Well, the short answer is yes and no. You can't really determine with 100% accuracy that someone's actually lying, but there's definitely ways to kind of investigate, kind of to analyze their body language, their posture, their intonation. And as a magician, I'm doing experiments every day, right? I'm going up to people. And the interesting thing that magicians can do is I can force something on you, whether it's a free choice or a question where I already know the answer, and then determine if you're lying or telling the truth based off of your reaction. So here's a simple example. Say I know what your card is, and I say, is this your card? And they go, no. Well, I already know because I use different techniques. And now that's a tell. So if I approach them again, I know if they're lying or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's that I already know the answer,
Yep.
and then I can prompt them to respond. And based off the response, I can kind of analyze how they lie.
How can you tell typically if somebody is lying to you or not? Like, are there things that you notice with their
There's
face?
tics. The most obvious one, and people probably have seen this and heard about it, is the eye flutters.
Like,
Like
that.
Eye flutters, a blink on a response. So if I ask you a question and like, no matter what, you say no, okay? No matter what I ask you, you say no. Understand?
Yes. Oh, no.
Oh, wow. See how easy that was? Is that automatically something so simple like that? Because magic is a reflex. It's a reflex. It's not something that you're thinking about. You're in a conversation right now. This is very low key. We're just communicating. And I just prompted you to lie, but you couldn't. So it's unnatural, right? So now when I ask you another question, it's like, is this a cactus?
No. Because you told me, but now I'm lying.
But now you're lying. And so what happened is also what you didn't even realize, and you could play that back, play it back, is that your eye fluttered when you said no, because you're having to think about it. So because I'm saying, is this a cactus? And you just went, and you blinked, and you weren't even aware of it. And those are little micro moments that once you get adept at reading people, cold reading people, experimenting with people, different personalities. Magicians, what we do all the time is we go into an audience as we're performing, and we're looking at everyone there and determining who's going to be and have the best reaction, who's going to be the best volunteer to give me the greatest reaction as I'm performing. So I might see somebody, and if they're kind of like this, one, I have to flip them. I have to try and make sure that they're enjoying the performance, but also it clues me in on, well, I don't want to use this person because they might be just like a dud. Because part of the experience of magic is a great presentation. It's a great moment. It's a great experience for an audience. But definitely determining how someone's going to react is a skill set that a lot of magicians have, and something that I have, that I can just look at an audience and go, that's the guy right there.
So when you're thinking about who to pick, let's say you're on stage, you're going out. One, what are you looking for? Are you looking for somebody who is easy to manipulate? Or are you looking for somebody who, okay, so what does it mean to look for somebody who is easy to manipulate? How can you tell?
The biggest thing is that people making eye contact with me, because a lot of times people think when you go into the audience, I need someone from the audience. They go in, they'll go. And if they're kind of looking away from me, but with a little smirk, then I know they're up for a good time. You know what the worst person, I'll tell you who the worst person to pick for a magic show, or just any sort of presentation, doesn't just have to be magic, is the person who is the most eager to get up on stage. So if there's someone that's like, I want to do it, it's like automatic no.
Why?
Automatic, Because they're not they want it to be about them. They want the limelight. They want to be on stage and show, and they want to be the star. That's not what I need. What I need is I need someone who is going to be, they're going to allow me to have fun with them and basically be the prop for them, because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen in the show. And I don't need somebody who's bouncing off the walls, because if they're bouncing off the walls right during the moment that I need them to be focused, we lose the whole trick. The effect means nothing because it was lost with their antics, okay? But if I have somebody who I know would be easy to suggest to, like, hey, I need you to stand right here. I need you to wink right now. I need you to smile here. Because there's different routines that I have where I'm coaching them and I'm telling them what to do. It's called the COD Corpse, right? What happens is I'm instructing them. I'm instant stooging them. They don't know that this is what's going to happen. So if I say to somebody, this happened in a show of mine, at the end of this show, at the end of this routine, I gave applause to this guy and everybody's applauding and they're like, great. And as I shook his hand, I told him, and this was a very flamboyant man, I shook his hand and I said, do a pirouette. Because I knew he knew how to. I said, do a pirouette. And as I told him, he looked at me and was like, right? So then what I did is I turned away. He spun. It looked amazing, but I pretended that I didn't see it. And the whole audience goes, oh my gosh. And then I, out of the corner of my eye, look and I go, oh, no, like I'm going to stop him. And that is the key moment. And it was knowing ahead of time, bringing him on stage, seeing that he was able to take instruction, you know, that I knew that I could get that out of him. Same thing with kids.
Look, running a podcast or any content operation is a grind. The editing, the clipping, the captions. It's enough to make anyone quit before the fun even starts. Enter Riverside. This tool is your content powerhouse. Forget decent quality virtual calls. Riverside gives you 4K video, pristine audio, and makes deadweight tasks disappear faster than bad ideas. Their text-based editor slashes, silences, and edits errors with one click. Needing some extra clips? Riverside's AI Magic Clips finds the moments people actually care about and delivers them to you. No guessing, no endless replays. And here's the kicker. You don't even need to record in the platform to use its features. You have the option to upload your footage to Riverside, letting it handle the heavy lifting. So you can save your brain power for the creative stuff. So stop drowning in edits, get busy creating, hit the link in the description, use code Cody, and thank me later. That's fascinating. Is that what it means to read magic, or what does it mean to read magic?
Oh, that's a good question. Reading magic. Well, first of all, I should ask you this question. What do you think is the most common question I'm asked as a magician?
How do you do a trick?
How do you do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's the most obvious question.
Right.
It's like kind of uninteresting.
It's like saying, how do you make money, Cody? You're like, that's freaking complex.
Yeah, right, totally. It's like this is the most uninteresting question you can ask, although it's the most common. A better question is, do you know how other magicians do their tricks? Right? Like if I were to ask you, I might say, so Cody, this business over here, what are they doing? How are they actually making it happen? And you're going, well, actually, here's the rules. Here's the deal. Here's how it's structured. This person's taking a piece here, because you know all about it. So same thing with magic. Imagine seeing sheet music. If I had sheet music right here, can you read music?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I see a bunch of black squiggly lines, right? I'm just like, I don't know what this is. I guess it's I don't know anything. But someone who can read music, right? They can look at it. They know what it is. They know what it sounds like, the beats, the tempo. They know everything. Now, I can read magic. So I can watch another magician, okay? I know why he's saying the things he's saying, why he's standing the way he's standing, why he's wearing what he's wearing, why he's choosing to use these specific words, because I can read magic and I can see, and just by watching, and I'm not trying to figure it out, but I know what he's gonna do and how he's gonna do it before the audience even realizes. I was watching a friend of mine in Vegas. I went to a show, and like halfway through the trick, I'm just like, this is great, that's amazing. Nothing's happened yet, but I know where he's gonna go. And so that's what reading magic is. If you know enough about magic and you can read it, you can watch a magician. And so therefore, I'm more interested in the presentation than the actual method.
Oh, it's sort of interesting. It kind of reminds me of body language. Like they say that 80% of body language is nonverbal.
Totally.
And so I wonder, do you think that we are turning people off, we're losing people before we even open our mouths sometimes?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's why first impressions is so important, right? I mean, these things seem so obvious, but before every one of my shows, the curtain's down and I'll walk out, I'll get mic'd up. It's 4 minutes, 3 minutes till show. I'll walk across the stage and I'll listen to the audience. And I can determine, because I know how many members we have that night, whether it's, you know, a couple hundred or whatever. And I can say, they're quiet. For this size of group, they're quiet. What does that mean? That means my first impression, I have to get them there. I have to raise their energy a little bit. If they're really loud and they're chatting and they're, you know, making a lot of noise, I'm like, they're a little rambunctious. And I'm gonna have to get their attention, hold it. I'm not gonna allow for them to basically run away in their pockets of friends, and then I'm trying to catch them saying, hey, pay attention, pay attention. So it's constantly, you know, listening to the audience. And I suppose the best way to do it is to go out there and be genuine, right? So even when I did Main Street of Wall Street, right? I was out there, come out for the very beginning, and it's like, hey, everybody, let's get started. No one's paying attention. Right? There's hundreds of people in this conference room.
Right.
And you just have to wait. Because I feel like if you bash them and you're like, come on, people, let's go, like it's a high school pep rally, adults and people are like, who are you? Wait, what are we doing here? But if it's like, all right, we're going to get going here. All right, are you ready? And then I also do a lot of things in that particular performance or that event. I'm engaging with a few people in the front row that allows people to settle in. And then I can address the group as a whole. So it's constantly auditing and constantly keeping an eye and being aware of the entire audience, especially when you're a large audience, whether it's up front, whether it's in the back, and all things.
What do you think about, you know, I've seen you do this one-on-one with a lot of people. And so, you know, let's say men, for instance, right now, I think it's hard dating out there. There's a lot of men that are maybe, you know, I think it's called projecting. Like they'll go up to a woman at a bar and they'll lean in and they'll be loud and, you know, kind of close the space between the woman, and then they're sort of rude if it doesn't work out. And so this projecting is actually a sign of a lack of confidence as opposed to they think it is confidence. So instead, how do you project individual confidence?
Well, I think the best answer can be summed up in one word: competence. Confidence is just competence. So when you know your stuff, I don't have to try to impress you, right? If I ask you all about business, you're not going to go, well, I think that. You're just going to go, this is what it is, right? I mean, and so if someone asks me about performance, about show, I've literally done thousands of shows for millions of people live, not including media, right? Live. So I just sit there and go, oh, I know this audience. Why? Because I've been in front of this kind of audience 1,000 times, right? Here's the best move for picking up a girl, especially. So I work in a casino, and I've been working in casinos for years. And so what happens, there's nightclubs in the casino, and then I'm a resident there, so I have a show there. People know me. I'd walk in, and they just let me in and whatever. And this was the best way, and it's so funny, is I'd wait. I would see some guy try and hit on this girl, and this girl's always just like, oh gosh, every time, they're loud, they're, you know, spitting all over her because they're drunk, and I'd like, oh my gosh. And then the guy would leave, and she's like, oh, turn away, roll her eyes, and I'd just go over to her, and I would just like put my hand on her shoulder and just say, I just have to apologize for that guy. I know you're having a good time. I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. Have a great night.
And then she'd start to talk with you.
1,000. Every time. And the thing is that she'd look at me like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like I'm noticing her situation. That's being genuine, because I was genuine. And whether something happened or not didn't really matter. But like it allowed the door to be opened. So now she knows that I'm not a creep and I'm not going to bother her.
Yeah, it's almost like you're releasing the pressure valve too. Yeah. She's like, and you're like, and then you're her exhale.
Yes.
You get to catch the exhale.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
You see it all the time in casinos and the nightclubs. It's so funny. And I'm always like, here it goes. I mean, but to be perfectly honest, I haven't been in the nightclub scene for a while. I've been doing other things. But when I did go.
That was your move.
That was the move. Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, they're not even aware of their body language. They're not even aware of like what happens when they present to somebody. How can somebody change their body language and the way that they engage with people if nonverbal is so important?
Well, there's a book that I read, and it's like a fascinating book, but it was geared for magicians. It was called Magic and Showmanship. Okay, it's written 80 years ago, who knows? And it literally broke down in diagrams of how to stand, how to turn, if you drop something. And I remember reading that as a teenager, and it immediately was like, oh, I'm doing things so wrong. Like if I drop something, people usually just bend over like this. Like, that looks awful. You know, what you should do is just bend at your legs, kind of like what ladies have to do with a dress on, right? You're not bending over, you're kind of bending at the knees, reaching down, and that way your body and your torso is straight and flat to the audience. And it's the same idea. And so I think being comfortable with who you are, it goes back to that competence, I have to say. I have to keep going back to that because I believe in it so strongly, is that practice in front of a mirror, something also, I mean, this sounds silly, but what I would do I entered magic contests, and I won some magic contests as a teenager and even in adulthood. And something that I would do is I'd rehearse at night in front of a mirror. No props, no music, just basically one light on, just in front of a mirror, and I'd practice an eyebrow raise, a smirk, a look. So in my room growing up also, I had like playing cards taped onto the wall in different locations. So I would have a mirror here, or if I'm just facing this wall, those were my connection points with the audience. So I would look at, oh, 2 of diamonds is right here, 4 of clubs is right here, 7 of hearts is here. And so that forced me and trained me to engage with all parts of the audience. So all of this being in front of a mirror, watching yourself, practicing how you're going to move, practicing how you would shake hands, practicing your smiles. You know, these are things that seem kind of silly, but if you talk to any real expert in body language, even whether it's Robin Williams or Jim Carrey, they would spend hours in the mirror just, you know what I mean? Like, and it's no different. And if you do that, what that means is you are totally aware of your body. You're able to feel comfortable in it because you know what it looks. Because a lot of times people are just so nervous and have anxiety because of what other people may be thinking of them.
Yeah,
right?
such a
and
good
if you
point.
don't, if you're already comfortable with all that,
That was one of the first things I noticed about you is you were very particular with the smile, like when it came out. So you would have an ask of somebody, and then as soon as you had this rather big ask, it would be this huge smile, you know, full smile, right?
Yeah.
And then you would have another small ask, and then you'd have a smirk with an eyebrow raise. And I can't do it because I have Botox right now, so it's not. This is also a problem. I'll have to try it in the mirror with Botox.
Yeah.
But it's a really good point. Like if you're going to go up to a girl in the bar.
yeah.
There's a trick of how to get her,
Yeah.
and you just shared it. And then 2, you know, if you're going to engage with somebody and ask them for something, it's like, how do you soften the ask? Do you think about that? Like, if I want something, how can I use my face, my tone, my intonation in order to make the other person want to give it to me?
Wow, that's such a great question. I mean, I'm gonna describe this in magic scenario. Okay, so a magician knows all sorts of different little ways to get you to behave and do something specifically that I want you to do, whenever I want you to do it, okay? And I think if we're going psychological here, the way to control someone's behavior mostly is to eliminate the motivation from the opposite behavior. For example, if I want to hand you something and I want you to use your right hand, as opposed to going, oh, here, Cody, and it might be a little awkward, I might cut off the motivation for you to use your left hand. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So like, here, let me see if I think I have a pen here. So I'm gonna give you this pen. Actually, is that in the way?
What, this?
No,
Yeah.
Yeah, here, I wanna give you this, but no, go grab that too.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right, and so I just occupied, do you get what he's saying? It's like,
100%.
I just occupied your brain with, is this in the way moving? And this was a silly example that I just came up with right now, but it didn't feel awkward because if I were to give you a pen, like this and I said, here,
I think I'd take, yeah.
you would take it with your left hand because it's the closest hand. So I have to cut the motivation off. So what does that mean? It means that if I want somebody to acquiesce to one of my requests, I might, instead of thinking of it like, oh, I really hope you do this, I might eliminate the motivations for them to give me an objection.
That's so smart. You know, I think about it almost from a respect perspective. Like, I remember in my career previously, there were many points where I would be talking, but people wouldn't be listening, or I would, you know, I would feel like they weren't hearing me, or maybe I would talk too much because I felt like I wasn't getting the respect that I wanted, you know? And I think a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah.
And especially maybe in meetings, like what would you do in more of a corporate setting if you were trying to get somebody to actually listen and hear you?
Wow, this is where showmanship comes into play. And this is where theater techniques come in too. And something that I love, and I've been doing it now because in this interview, right, in this conversation, and I did it downstairs right before, is that there's things that vocal intonations, interest. So like if I lean in, right, you're now more engaged.
Yeah.
If I lower my voice to more of a whisper, it's called sotto voce, right? These are like theater techniques. These are performance techniques. So if I tell you something, and then I get really big because I'm super excited about it, it keeps the interest gauge, right, up. And that's what you want. So if you're in a meeting and you want to make sure that people are listening to you, if you're just, nothing is worse, people, nothing is worse than just, you know, slide deck and this monotone, right? Get out from behind the podium. So here's a great example of this. Main Show over Wall Street is your big event. Just had it a month ago. And I was giving a presentation. And I was speaking on reframing and seller financing. And your team emailed me and said, hey, can you send us your slide deck? First of all, I don't even know. I've never put a slide deck together in my life. I'm an entertainer. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So I didn't send them anything hoping that they'd forget and not ask me again. Like the morning up, oh, okay, you can just bring your slide deck. And I was like, and so the night before the presentation, I'm sitting in bed and like for 5 minutes, I'm like, should I put a slide deck together? Like, I mean, I know how to put a PowerPoint. Like, I know how to do it, but man, and I just sat there and I go, in my brain, that's not what I do. That's not what I do. I'm gonna go do what I do, right? And so I made one slide. I didn't even use it. I forgot. So I plugged in my computer and said the title of the presentation. And then I'm like, all right, let's go. And I started engaging with the first row and then, you know, had the whole presentation. But the point in that was, I didn't even have to communicate in that. And then of course they're like, you have 45 minutes. And I went 50 minutes. I'm like, what time? I'm like, we went long. Oh my gosh. And so the point of that is, how do you get people to listen? I'm going back to it. Competence, knowing what you're going to talk about. For example, with Jordan Peterson, oh man, I watch his videos on YouTube. They're amazing. And he said before, he's like, if you're going to give an hour presentation, you need to know and be able to speak on this for like 4 hours. And that's the competence. I think also rehearsal. Like, it seems so silly. Like, I know none of us want to do it, but record yourself, look in the mirror, practice, rehearse, go over it. Like, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a end point, if you don't have a vision of where you want to be, you're never going to hit it, right? And so if you want to be interesting in a boardroom, what do? Know your stuff, engage, watch other performers. We were talking about this before. I watched, you know who is amazing to watch? Comedians. Their timing has to be precise, because if their pause is too long, the audience drops. If they respond too quickly, they don't allow for the audience to react with laughter, and they say the punchline too soon, half the audience, you know, doesn't hear it. So it's constantly listening and watching the audience.
So it seems like a lot of being heard and listened to and respected is actually listening.
100%. So there's a man named Michael Davis. He's a very famous juggler. Okay, he was on SNL back in the day, big shows, amazing. I was probably 18 or 19 years old doing a show in Lafayette, California, at this country club kind of thing. And they hired me to perform for their annual event. 18, 19 years old, I was making $400. I was like, this is amazing. I've made it, And so I do this show and everyone leaves except one guy. And I'm like, oh, hi, he's going to compliment me and everything. And I realized who it was. And I go, oh my gosh, I knew who you are. Oh my gosh. And he goes, good job, kid. He goes, I just have one bit of advice for you. And I said, what's that? He said, listen to your audience. They will give you your entire show. Such good advice. So as I'm performing, right, the collective mind is greater than an individual, right? So as I'm performing and I'm doing my shows over the years, if there was a joke, or I'm sorry, if there was like laughter coming out of this section after a certain point in my show, I didn't know what was said. Because if it's really funny, then I can use it in my show every night. And now I have a built-in joke that feels off the cuff, but actually came from the audience. So absolutely, your presentation should be catered to the individual audience because no audience is the same. There's a famous debate amongst the magicians is there such thing as a bad audience? And the classic answer is no. There's no such thing as bad audience, only bad performers, right? That's not true at all. There are awful audiences. I can tell you, I've been in front of many of them. And I was doing a show in Lake Tahoe, and the audience was quiet. They were so quiet. They weren't clapping. They weren't laughing. They were nothing. It was like crickets. And at one point in the show, I exit stage for a second, and one of my assistants goes, oh my gosh, this audience, whatever. And I said, do you know why they're quiet? She's like, what do you mean why they're quiet? Because they suck. And I'm like, no. It's like, well, yeah, but no. I was like, no. I said, they're cold.
Oh, it's cold in the room.
It was winter. And my theater at the time had exterior walls. And that theater was freezing. And so they've been up on the mountain. They're tired. They're watching a show. They have the jackets on and they're sitting like this. And they don't want to move.
Oh, no.
And so, but so easily I could have just been like, oh, these audience suck and dismissive. It's no, my job is to take an audience, whether they're bad or good. And if they are bad, my job is to turn them into the best audience they can be. You're not always going to have the best audience. Not everyone's going to be with you 1,000% all the time, right?
Yep.
So it's constantly catering, and my career, my shows are 1,000% that. That's what makes comedians great too, is that they're all crowd work. People like the crowd work because why? It's genuine. It's real. We want something real.
Yeah.
Right? So that applies in everyday life, in every situation. Be genuine, be present.
You were talking about Jordan Peterson, and it reminded me of one of his lines, which is that the most dangerous person is the most articulate person.
Oh my gosh, completely.
Do you think that's true? And if that is true, how do we increase our ability to be articulate? Is that possible? Can somebody become better at speaking?
Wow. So, yes, they can become better. And something that I've done in the past in different lectures and presentations for magicians was the 5 things that make a great performer. The 5 things that makes a great performer. And it applies to everyone, really, in any of their fields. But number 1 is natural talent. Some people are just gifted. They're able to articulate easier. Maybe they're able to retain more than someone else. Natural talent, right? The second thing is that natural talent is going to give opportunities. Okay, those opportunities are going to manifest, and now you can speak here, you can communicate here, you have a job opening here, whatever that case may be. The third thing is confidence and experience, and that's where that confidence comes from. The confidence and the competence only comes through experience, which is doing it over and over again. The fourth thing is hard work. So what's that saying, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard, right? And the fifth thing is gratitude, and I think is actually one of the most important ones. But when you extrapolate that from performing lens, and in general, I have listened to YouTube videos and lectures, thousands of hours. You do videos on like how many books you've read, okay? Like it's gaining the knowledge, but something that I've been doing more so because I feel like it was like a game, achievements, right? Like, you read this many books, and it's like, great. I just read on Audible, I listened to 59 books this month. It's like, no. I think it's better. What I've been trying to be intentional about is going through books, reading the same chapter over again, and taking notes, and careful notes. And I think that, to answer the question, you can get better if you focus in on maybe one speech that you like, that you see a presentation, and you focus and you study how someone's so articulate, whether it's on a YouTube video. And I mean, YouTube is amazing because you can just break it down and watch it over and over again. So if you see someone that you're like, hey, I wish that I can communicate like them, watch them over and over again. See what they're doing, right? And I speak this way because I've been doing it for years, but like even there, when I'm giving that interesting information, I'm like, watch them again. My voice changes, you know, how I'm speaking, communicating, my intensity, that all changes. And I think that's what leads to a captivating and more articulate person.
I love that. You know, I was reading up on magic before this, as one does.
Oh, yeah?
And,
as one does.
And one thing that I didn't know is, did you know that Charles Manson was a hypnotist? Did you know that?
You are digging deep.
Is that not true?
No, I don't know. I don't know, but I mean...
Charles Manson supposedly was a hypnotist and also hypnotized people in prison, which I thought was fascinating. So then I went down this hypnotist rabbit hole.
Hold on, Times.
Yeah.
You said you were looking up magic. How does mass murder and hypnotism fall in that category?
It's a dark...
Now I know where you now I know where you group me.
YouTube, very dark rabbit hole at the end of the day. But I wanted to, I know that you do hypnotism sometimes.
Yeah, I've trained. I've never done it on my own, in my own hip show, but I've definitely trained with...
Is that what they call it, a hip?
It's a hip show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does one train in hypnotism?
Oh my gosh, the induction is the most important part. And it's not unlike reading your audience. That's why whenever you see a hypnotist show, they grab like 30 audience members, right? First, and then they start eliminating them. And at the very end, there may be 6 people left on stage.
Yeah.
And these are the 6 that are the most controllable, the ones that are the most easily suggestible. So everyone can be hypnotized, okay? And think of it this way. Have you ever been, and here's an example of it. Have you ever been driving and all of a sudden you're there and you're like, oh my gosh, like, wait, I was zoned out and I just drove wherever it is.
Yes.
That's essentially the same as hypnotism. You're kind of present, but your mind is elsewhere. So you're kind of blocking. You cannot recall anything that just took place, even though it actually happened in the physical world, right? So it's the same idea. And some people are more prone to that. Some people are more susceptible to that, right? So if you're really focused and you have caffeine and you're not tired and you are really, you know, energized, that's not going to happen. When does that happen? You've had a long day, you kind of relaxed, and you're just kind of over it, and then you zone out. That's why hip shows start with that. It's like, relax. And you start eliminating the people who maybe are going to be counter to that. And so you don't want somebody with high energy. You want somebody who's a little bit relaxed. And that's why it starts that way.
Interesting. I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
It made me kind of think about one of the things that you told me about before that I'm not too sure, which is, tell me about what is an empty safe?
So the empty safe, and I absolutely love this. Why do magicians, and we can branch it to hypnotism, but why do magicians keep their secrets?
So other people can't copy them?
Yeah, okay, business savvy, right? This is a business podcast. She's like, job security, first of all, okay? Eliminate the competition. Yes. You can grow your sales. No.
That's not why? What?
That's not why.
Okay.
The reason why magicians don't tell their secrets, okay, is because if the audience knew the secrets, they'd immediately become disenchanted, right? So magicians guard an empty safe, not just to protect these vital, important secrets, but they guard the safe so that other people don't discover that it's actually empty.
Interesting.
Right?
So it's like Santa Claus.
Kind of Santa Claus. I mean, it's like, if I have my nephew and my niece is 1 and my nephew's 5, fun age, and you know, my sister's like, I think it might be time to take him to like Disneyland or something. It's like, I don't really want to go to Disneyland. but I would go with him.
Yeah.
Why? Because I get to see it through his eyes. He gets to be enchanted by it all, by the magic of it all, right? And so a magician's job is to keep and maintain that for his audience.
I love that. I actually think about that a little bit with business too, because you know, there's this idea that you should have complete trust, complete transparency with your employees, complete honesty with everything that you do. You know, completely upfront. Like, he's an upfront guy. She's a transparent girl. And I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I mean, what does that mean? That's such a buzzword right now, transparency, right? I think, I mean, first of all, you could be honest and not transparent in everything. Nothing is fully transparent. I mean, if we want to go, you know, high level, like, does the government have secrets? Yes. Does your employer have secrets? Yes. You know, I love when people like get in feuds on like, you know, the social media about the government is doing this and that. No, well, this person does this and that. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know all the details of your life, right? People lose their jobs, caught off guard. People, their spouses and infidelity, all these things happen. And people are like, what? I didn't know this was happening. And yet you're so sure what's going on in government, like, you know, economical, relations between different, anyways, the point is that I find that really funny. But you can be truthful and also not fully transparent. There should be a little bit of that. And a magician's job, and I would say this is magician, there's a famous quote too that says, a magician is the most honest person in the room. Because I tell you I'm gonna fool you, and then I do, right?
That's true.
So I think that if you're honest with your employees and in your business, and I am too, I think that it's what I wanted to tell all my employees is like, hey, if something comes up, you tell me. And so I'm aware of it. And transparency would say, well, I need to tell them everything on my mind. It's like, no, I'll say, okay, I wrote that down. You're gonna have to come back to me in a month. Let me think about that, or whatever have you. One of my employees, she kind of mentioned something to me and I said, not now. I said, but please bring it up next quarter. And you know what she loved? What she loved is I kept track of it. I didn't dismiss her. And as it came to that time, I said, I know we have our conversation coming up.
Yeah.
And when we had that conversation, she goes, that made me feel so good because I was there, I was present with her, and I was being honest with her as opposed to just going, I'm avoiding that or whatnot. So you can be honest without being fully transparent.
I think it's very true. I mean, I think about our business right now, and there's this period in time where everybody wanted complete salary transparency. Remember that? Like the big tech companies were like, we're going to tell what every single person at this company makes. And I remember when that was happening, talking to a friend who was going to do this, ran $1 billion company. And I was like, I think it's an awful idea. Let me tell you why. Yeah. Just feel in your gut right now for a second how it feels if somebody knows exactly what you make right now. Like no matter what it is, it's high, it's low, it's mid, it's whatever. Like how do you feel the second that I know exactly what you make or exactly how much you have in your bank account? It feels a little weird, right? It feels weird. And so if you feel that way and you're pretty evolved on money because you got a lot of it, you've probably worked through scarcity mindset, how are your employees going to feel when they see it? And so I think there is this big belief that transparency is everything, but I like how Robert Greene talks about the fact that, concealment is actually one of the biggest gifts that you can give in some instances.
I agree. That's such a good point. I don't think that everyone knowing what everyone's making, first of all, is that just what you said. Someone who has a lot of money is usually pretty evolved in money. There's this, misapprehension that people think that just because you have a lot of money, then they didn't earn it, they don't know anything, it was all trust fund, it's like, that's so untrue. Most of the people with a lot of money that I know run small businesses, built something, right? What's the stat? How many are self-made millionaires in this country?
Yeah, 79%.
Yeah, almost 80% are all self-made. They're competent people. They know how to run it. Not everyone, okay, not every single person knows all the intricacies of money. And that's why when people say like, oh, we're gonna do a capital gains tax, it's like, you don't even understand what that means, right? Like, it's silly. It's like, you don't even know what that means.
Yes,
and
that's
people who
very
don't,
true.
people go, yeah, we should, are people who don't have any capital gains. And so they don't know what it is. And it goes back to like just being, competent about money and whatnot. But yeah, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Entertainers, oh my gosh, entertainers are so funny. They this happens all the time. Entertainers are talking and everybody's like, oh, I got the best gig, and they're bragging, just like in business, right?
Yeah.
they're like, oh, it's good. It's a good paying gig. And it's like, how much? Oh, it's good. It's really paying really good. It's like, how much? No one wants to say. No one wants to say. Why? It's like, because they don't know what's good. Like, they don't know if it's good or not. Oh, it's a high paying gig. It's a good paying gig. It's like, maybe for you and maybe for someone else, it's not. But that's not the point. The point is to, one, be able to live, in my opinion, right, is to live within your means, maximize your value to whoever it is, your client, your job, your work, whatever you're doing, right? And that's when you get the most back. And that's learning and meeting people like you, like watching these podcasts, being educated, so that way it's going to serve you best. I hate the scarcity mindset, and I hate this idea that, like, oh, well, because you're this or that, then you don't have the privileges everyone else. It's like, forget all that. Because when everybody says, like, oh, I didn't grow up with this or whatever, it's like, okay, forget everybody else. Let's focus on you. What are you doing right now? What are the opportunities you have? And how can we make your current situation better? It doesn't matter about everybody else. It doesn't matter. I had this conversation with a friend of mine one time, and she said, she said, I think if Timmy has a bunch of candy, she should share some with Jamal. And I was like, I believe in charitable giving, 100%. I believe in that, yeah. And she goes, well, Timmy should share it. And I said, here's a better one. How about we teach Jamal that if he knocks on doors and says trick or treat, he can make candy that way. Forget Timmy. I don't care about Timmy. I'm focused on Jamal.
Yeah.
That's fast. And, this is a good friend of mine. And, I say that with empowering people who may be thinking that they don't have as much as someone else. It's that comparison mindset. It's like, don't worry about them. Focus on you. How do we get you to where you want to be? But before we can do that, you have to have clarity.
Yeah.
You have to have an end goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, one of the things that's interesting that makes me think about this is, everybody's always got an opinion of things. And so, I remember the first time I gave a speech and there was a heckler in a crowd, like somebody who...
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like...
Wait, what does that look like? Okay, not to cut your story off.
Well...
What do you mean heckling you?
Well, so this was, talk about like a bad crowd. So this was, it was late at night. Okay. It was what I could only describe as like a mafia bar mitzvah that I was contracted to speak at. It was the weirdest thing I've ever been to. It was in Detroit. Tanner was there. And we're going on at 9:30. It's packed. There's, I don't know, 500, 600 people in the room. It's like kind of like a gala looking thing at a weird country club. And somehow I'm speaking at this event, and I fired my agent after that. But we did. So I'm in this crowd, and it's loud. It's like bumping music. Mm-hmm. They've been drinking for a while. Mm-hmm. And so they're excited for you. We're ready to get out there. Now, Alex, you know me, I talk about buying business. Like, I have graphs in my PowerPoint. I have flow charts.
You have a slide deck.
I have a slide deck.
Unlike me, you have a slide deck.
I have a prepared slide deck with like a pointer. And so I'm looking at this crowd and I'm like, oh my fucking God, they don't want to hear this. And so I remember like vividly being like, oh my God, like I'm not going to be able to get their attention. There's a bunch of them standing in the back, drinking at the bar. They're having a whole different conversation while a couple hundred of them in front are like ready to go because the bar's in the same room. I'm like, this is a nightmare. So I watched the guy in front of me, also with a slide deck. He's just getting murdered, right? He's just like, he's showing the graphs and the returns and everybody's like, yeah, Tom, blah, blah. They're just talking over him. He's sweating. I'm like, this is great. I get to go up after this guy. So anyway, they get off. People are like, when he leaves the stage.
And that was you.
And that, yeah, it was me in the audience. So whatever, then they throw the lights. I go up. And I'm like, I don't really know what I'm going to do to handle this. And I had that moment where I'm like, do I engage with a little bit in the front? Do I yell at them? Do I whatever? And I just did the power play. I just stood there. And I was just like, mm-hmm. And then that makes people uncomfortable. Silence, the music's down, single light on. And I just kind of stood there. And I waited until like people start fidgeting in their chairs, so you can tell these people are nervous. They don't know what to do. You can kind of start to see them talk to other people. Mm-hmm. And then, and then finally, I don't remember how many minutes, but it felt like 6 years. I'm trying not to sweat. And in the back, I'm like, you got two choices. You can stay quietly, or you can step outside and be as loud as you fucking want. But we got to pick one or the two. And so, but I was nervous because they could have been like, these are like mafia seeming guys. They could have been like, yeah, fuck you. And then like gone back.
Yeah.
But I think at least with that audience, what I was thinking, because I could feel them a little bit,
Totally.
I was like, they're tough and they're powerful. And the only way they're going to respect me is if I come off tough and powerful back.
100%.
If I like, hi guys, please excuse me, immediate loss.
100%. No, I know those shows. And you have to make that choice. And I think that you made the right choice. And I know those crowds. I work in a casino, and I would say that in the 10 plus years of me having residency in a casino, I've had to kick out 4 people in 10 years, thousands of shows. And the most recent one happened this summer season. And there's this guy who had a lot of drinks, right?
Yep.
And afterwards I told the cocktail waitress, no. Like, he came in with 2 martinis, right? He came in and you gave him another. I'm looking at his table and I could see what you did, anyway. And at one point he was like, we know how it's done. And like, I don't perform in a very challenging manner. It's all in good fun. And I'd probably be more nervous earlier in my career, but also if I knew he knew.
Oh, right.
Right? But he didn't. He's just saying it because that's what you say at a magic shop. And so then I just said, you know what? It's time for you to leave. And then he's like, I'm not leaving. And so then I told Tony, who's my audio, I just said, Lou pre-show. So now music comes up, I pop my mic off, I kind of go over to them, and the people sitting around them can hear us, but the majority of the audience can't hear this interaction. And I said, it's time for you guys to leave. And then I did the same thing that you just did. I said, they go, no, we'll say. And his wife was like really embarrassed because she's like, he just had a lot to drink. And I said, I understand. I said, you have 2 choices. She goes, no, we'll stay. I go, it's past that. You have 2 choices. Either you get up and leave, or security's gonna be here in like 2 minutes and they're gonna escort you off of the property.
Yeah.
She goes, no, we'll stay. I go, those are your 2 options. You don't have any other options right now. I said, so I know it's embarrassing for you. And I'm talking to the woman now because she's like, oh, I'm staying here. And so I was like, I know it's embarrassing, but those are your options. And they eventually got up, and it took some time, and it was a little uncomfortable for the audience, but at the same time, they know that I have their back.
That's exactly right.
I have the audience's back. And of course, what happens every single time, they leave the theater, and then as soon as the door closes behind them, the whole audience
claps.
They're clapping. And something that's interesting, and in your situation, is a little bit different because you're speaking at an event where people are buying tickets to my show to see it, is that, it's like, you guys paid money for this, and I respect that. How I pay my bills is by you guys buying tickets to my show. Yep. So you guys are my important customers that I want to make sure that I serve properly. The funny thing is they contact Ticketmaster, they wanted a refund, and I was like, and so box office, do you want to refund this? And I was like, no. I was like, first of all, I record all of my shows, right? And I have a mic, so that way when the house mic is off, we still have it on the recording, right?
That's hysterical.
So you can hear the whole exchange.
They wanted a refund?
They wanted a refund, and I was like, no.
That's one of the first, few times I'd be like, and no. Yeah. Also, you need to pay me more. Now I'm mad. Now I'm coming after you. You
we're going to bill you again.
Yeah.
No, and so those things happen, but you definitely have to make those choices. And the more experience, the things that aren't going to, throw me off. Earlier in my career, with less experience, I would have been like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I handle this? And just a little nervous, and now the show's going to continue. Here's something that I do in a lot of my shows, especially at corporate events or smaller, not kind of my theater casino show. I'll come out, they'll introduce me, Alex Ramon, and I'll start clapping, and I'll just keep clapping. And I'll keep clapping, and it's kind of a funny joke, and people clap, and then they think, okay, it's over, and I'm like, and then they, oh, okay. And it's usually a man that will go,
oh, so you can tell.
And now
he's got an eyebrow raised.
He's like, I'm not doing this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And now it becomes this power play, right? I cannot let him not clap. Because if I do, he now is the alpha in the show.
Weird.
I have to be the one in control. Because the minute that I get this person to do it, they know, look, I'm running this. And I will wait it out because I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to start until I'm ready. And sometimes I'm ready based off the audience being prepared, being ready and receptible to the show. So this just happened. I was in Phoenix and I was doing this gig, clapping, and this guy's like, no. And then what happens is they kind of see, I'm like, okay, you're doing, okay, I got you. And then I see the one person, I'm like, there he is. And now I zone in on him. I'm just staring at the guy. And when you make eye contact with somebody, you just dead stare him the whole time. It makes most people uncomfortable because then they're just like, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm fine with it. Like, I will sit here and stare you down. And then the whole audience kind of sees that the guy's not doing it. So what happens? All the audience turn on him. And they're like, come on, dude, let's go. We want to see the show. And then eventually they break. And sometimes it's been awkward to where it feels like we've been clapping for 9 minutes. And really, it's maybe only 30 seconds or 45 seconds. It's a really long time. But at the same time, once he does it, then it's like, okay, now we're going to begin. And now he knows and everyone knows I'm in control of the show. I'm competent. I know what's happening, right?
That's a great point, too, because I also think it's like for your everyday life, there's a lot of ways to do these power plays. You're not trying to one-up somebody, but you're trying to establish a certain level of respect, basically, in order to get people to engage. And you can see it a lot in meetings in business, let's say. So you have a group of people in a meeting, and you can kind of tell like who's typing on the computer and not paying attention, who's got like a look on their face like I'd rather not be in this meeting today. And so even in like a small group of 5 or 6 people, the way to fix that is usually you call them out. You go, oh hey Bob, like, how's it going? You thought about that the other day, didn't you? And then they're like, fucking put the computer down, right? And so it's like, I think darkness always gives to the light. So where can you put some attention on it?
Totally.
And that is how you assert dominance without even realizing. It's like the dog with the paw over your hand.
Right. I mean, calling attention to somebody and putting the kind of social anxieties on them shapes them up real quick, right? And another thing that I've done in my shows and my performances is, just saying, hey, look, guys, I'm here to give you my best. I'm here going to give you my best. I appreciate you giving me your best. And it's like, hey, we're here for a reason and a purpose, and can I be real with you guys? I'm going to be real. I'm going to be genuine. I'm going to be present. And that's the biggest thing for me and my career now. And what my audience at the meet and greets always say is, because I remember people's names and there's callbacks during the performance and it's very highly engaging. And it's like, I want the audience to know that I did the show for them. It wasn't just a play, same line, same everything. No, I want it for them. And that keeps people who may be uninterested engaged because you can call them out. And here's another thing that I do, which is if you see somebody straying, not kind of paying attention, not unlike what you just said, which was, hey, Bob, right? You had this point.
Yeah.
You praise them a little bit, right? And so if there's a guy who's kind of like watching the show or whatever, a little less interested, I might look at him and go, pretty good, right? Like and all of a sudden I'm giving him
permission.
Yeah. I'm giving him some attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And is it the same with hecklers? Like you don't want to give the big hecklers too much attention, but you also have to move them to the side. Like how do you manage trolls live?
Totally. You can't give them attention at all. And most of my heckling, and I really, really, like I said, I don't get a lot of hecklers in my performance, my style. It's just not, I don't get that. The people I've kicked out were drunk. But most of the disruptions that I get, and that's why I don't call them hecklers per se, are just people who are super enthusiastic that are just being a little disruptive and annoying the people around them.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, bro, nothing happened yet. Like settle down.
Do you say that?
No. It's, you don't give them attention. You don't feed them.
Yeah.
Here's what happens all the time. At the end of some routine or end of a moment, someone will say something really loud like, oh yeah, it's not up your sleeve or something silly. And they think it's hilarious, right? They think it's great. And it's like, oh boy. And I hear it, but I don't call any attention to it. And sometimes they go, oh, he didn't hear me.
Yeah.
So they say it again.
Yeah.
And I just keep moving on as if I didn't, even though I did. And I avoid them. I don't give them any energy. Because if I look them in the eye and smile, that gives them permission to keep going. So I have to avoid them until I feel that them kind of settle back down. And so you absolutely avoid them. The unfortunate part that happens when you have somebody that's really engaging or being disruptive, that wants the attention and the energy, is I have to kind of ignore that part of the audience. But there's different techniques that I could do to make sure that they're engaged. So as I'm talking and delivering a line, if I don't want to make eye contact and energy here, I could just include them just with a gesture. So like I could be talking to somebody and I'm like, geez, Tanner's really going off right now. Like I need to rein in on him. I'm not going to give him permission or smile, but I'm going to say, all right, well, everybody's here. And I could still gesture to them, and that feels, it's kind of a line, right? That includes this section of the audience. But yeah, I don't think that giving them, really what people want is the attention. And by giving them the attention, it gives them permission to keep being disruptive.
Yeah. Have you ever really bombed on a set? Like, have you ever just had like a terrible show?
I did. I never should have been in there, okay? They booked me. It was just like mafia bar mitzvah. Okay. It was in
I've been there. I've been there.
I bombed. Oh gosh. Oh man. It was in Miami at the Faena. Now
it's fancy.
You've been there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know the Faena.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And the person who booked me there, they didn't describe the event well. Okay. And because of that, it was like, I shouldn't have been there. Oh my gosh. So what it was like a mixer. They had a DJ, they had karaoke planned, there was drinks in a bar, just people socializing and chatting. And they're like, you're gonna be in the middle of this. And I get there and I'm like, you didn't tell me there was gonna be a DJ or karaoke or a live band. You just said, oh, this is like a mixer for some people. Can you do some magic? And then maybe we'll have you at the front of the room. And it was my fault for like really not diving in. And it wasn't really a paid gig. It was like for a friend and acquaintance to kind of coming in for this event. Anyways, I said, I'll be there, I'll do it. Well, I get there, there's this DJ, loud music going, people shouting at each other on the dance floor, And then the DJ has a mic and was like, okay, we're gonna take a break. You have like 15 minutes to just chill, go get some drinks, do whatever, and please welcome Alex Ramon.
Ooh, big intro.
And I was like, you literally dismissed everybody. You dismissed everybody and then introed me, and I'm walking on and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it just was bad. It was like the longest 15 minutes ever. And I had an agent there for a cruise line that I was working with at the time. She was like the only one paying attention. It's like, and I'm like, geez, she's booking me. And I'm like, I promise this isn't how it goes on the ships. It's like, I promise, people pay attention. And I do the show and I have a moment where I engage an audience member. And it was one of those things where I go, I'm never gonna get their attention. So I just am gonna go and do the best that I can for what I'm doing. I also,
Were you sweating? Do you still remember it?
Oh, I still remember it.
The first time I bombed on a speech, it stuck with me in a way that I was embarrassed how much it stuck with me. I was like, this doesn't matter. Nobody's dying. We're totally fine. And also, I may be terrible. Everything's falling apart. Yeah. This is the worst moment. Did it really sit with you? I get why people are scared of public speaking.
Yeah, I text you're only as good as your last at bat,
Yeah.
And I text my friend that night, and she's a singer, amazing singer, out of Vegas, and I text her, and I just was like, I feel awful. And she was like, why? And I said, I just literally bombed at this event, and I just didn't, it was bad. And she had seen me before, and she's like, really? I was like, yeah. I don't bomb, it doesn't really happen, but like, I bombed. And I go, what is it like when this happens to you? She texts back, honey, I never bomb.
That's what everybody says.
I was like,
I don't buy it. I do not buy it.
No, not at all, not at all.
Everybody's had that moment on
absolutely.
stage.
And the only way is to keep going and do the next gig.
Yeah, that is the only way.
And that's what actually
wasn't the
resonated
next
with
one
me.
hard though? I got nervous. I never get nervous. For the next speech, I was like,
No.
fuck, you weren't?
I wasn't nervous.
No,
I don't remember that. I just was like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And so now, and then I just was in Miami, and I drove by for this other event, and I drove by the Faena, and I'm like, there it is. Like, that will sit
I'm not
forever.
going there.
Yeah, but this actually kind of reminds me of what Tim Kennedy and Bill Perkins, they're all talking about at Main Street Over Wall Street, right? They're all talking about this idea of suffering. They always talk about this idea of like, keep going. It's the persistence. It's the relentlessness of the end goal of keep going. If you are going to allow something, a failure, I don't even use that word. I hate when people use that word. Oh, I had this failure. I failed here. It's like, no. Maybe you had an expensive lesson.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe you had an emotional lesson. But that word failure, I never would use it. Like I never use the word stress. I would never say I'm stressed. I have anxiety. That doesn't sit in my vocabulary. I don't ever verbalize that. It's like, okay, yeah, I feel that there's some intensity here. Or there might be some, energy. I need to, focus on something. But I just don't like that language. And if someone faces an obstacle or a failure, right, and that's it, well, how can you ever be successful? How can you ever accomplish anything? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
No, I think it's all the scientific experiment, right?
Yeah.
Like everything in business is just how fast can I make mistakes that won't kill me so that I can learn the next lesson and move forward in the game. That's it. It's like,
what's that?
don't
Fail fast.
Yeah. And I think it's not even fail. It's just like make mistakes fast, then don't give up, and don't place that much emotional intention on them one way or the other.
Right. It's like a lot of times people, if they say something like get a bad review or, oh, that sucked, if you take that to heart, I remember, oh my gosh, I got the worst review once. Oh my gosh, I got the magazine, I framed it. So I remember like this guy, I was reading the review and I'm like, this guy sucks. I was like, I'd hate to be him. And it was me. It was in a magazine. So I toured as the ringmaster for Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Circus. Oh. I was 23 years old, one of the youngest guys in history to ever do it. And I'm not 6'4", middle-aged with a big booming baritone voice, right? And the producers of the show told me like, look, this show's only gonna work with your energy. You don't have that voice to capture everybody, it's your energy. So I'm running around the arena with energy. All right, let's go New York City. Like that kind of an idea. So I got this review in a magazine, a circus magazine, which, let's be honest, probably has a subscription level about 58. But the point is, they wrote about me like, they're like, this guy's not a ringmaster. He's, awful. He has no presence. He has no nothing or anything. And I was 23. And I read this thing and I was like, wow, I'm awful to them. And I accepted the fact that I'm not in their taste. Like, I don't like heavy metal. Not because heavy metal musicians aren't good. It's just that's not my taste.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're not going to be everyone's taste. And you have to be okay with that, right? You have to be okay with knowing that those people don't like me. And the reason they don't like me is because I'm not a traditional ringmaster, right? And then it wasn't till a few months later, they had like people from this club that all come in and people who wrote at the magazine and all those other things, they came and they kind of met me and us and I talked to them and I said, you know what? And in my head, I'm thinking, I read what you wrote about me, But instead, I said, you know what? It is such an honor to be a part of this tradition and be in it in a way that I felt welcomed, and I appreciate that. And afterwards, I could see the crowd go, I like this kid, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how that works. But you can't let failures or even praises, determine your outlook on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, where you want to go in life, because, it's just be good. Be the best that you can, maximize your potential.
I could actually see you as a ringmaster. I feel like, did they do a version of that now? Was that Hugh Jackman who was the ringmaster of the circus?
Yeah, he played, yeah.
He's like got a similar energy. I guess he is kind of a big guy.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
But he's got the Wolverine smile and the, which you have too.
Yeah, I would say that, the circus changed me. It really was. I didn't go to college, right? I went to the best college for the entertainment world. So at 20 years old, I started touring with Disney for 3 years. Then I toured with Ringling Brothers for 2 years. So
what'd you do when you were touring with Disney?
I was in a show called Disney Live, Mickey's Magic Show.
What'd you play?
I wasn't a character. I
don't know. You say this like obviously, you know the
No,
show.
no.
Here's the character set.
No, I was doing magic on stage with Disney characters.
Got it.
So it was a magic-themed Disney show.
I immediately thought you were Mickey Mouse.
No, I'm too
So
tall.
you were Alex. Okay.
The first time I was ever too tall for anything was too tall to be Mickey Mouse, which Disney's gonna hate that I said that. Anyways, oh man, that's another conversation. Anyways, the point is this: I toured for 5 years all over the world, and I didn't go to college. I went to tour with Disney at 20. Then by then I'm done with Ringling Brothers. I was 25, had all this experience, and performing millions and thousands of shows, millions of people, thousands of shows, and I didn't know what to do because no one's booking me. Because most entertainers, it's either like, most entertainers are giggers. They gig work, right? They do a show here, you book them for this gig and that gig. And no one was calling me to book me anymore because I'd been gone for 5 years touring. But the experience I had was what? Was commanding an audience of thousands at a time, being on TV shows, doing interviews, pitching a product, which was tickets.
Yeah.
And so when I got off the road, I was like, I guess I sell tickets to my show. And that's actually how I began the producing game. So I've produced my own show now for 15 years. And so no one produces it myself. That's like I have the contracts and the leases with the casinos and the billboards and the advertising and all that. Those are my contracts, my payroll, my everything else. Most entertainers are getting a paycheck and then they go thanks and they leave. And so, but Ringling kind of opened my eyes to that. And it changed who I was as a person, individual. It demanded so much of me to just grow. So at 23, it was like, okay, I have the keys to this circus. I'm the one in charge. And I took that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I took that responsibility very seriously. And so, at 23, and there's a cast of over 100, we traveled with 300 people at a time. It was like a little town moving around. Lived on the circus train. It was amazing. Amazing
An
experience.
actual train?
Yeah.
Wow. What's the craziest circus story you have? I didn't even know this about you.
Yeah, no, craziest? Well, I wouldn't say the craziest. Let's go to the most embarrassing. We were in Texas. We were in Corpus Christi, Texas. Hurricane Alex was coming through. There was a leak in the venue, and there was this puddle in the middle of the arena floor. And I'm the guy with 6 Super Trooper spotlights on me. And I'm like, let's go, whatever, saying my lines, getting them going, and I'm running.
You have a cane and a hat and the whole outfit?
I didn't have a cane and a hat, but I had these really amazing set of tails. The jacket was incredible. It was amazing. I'll show you a photo.
Okay.
Anyhow, I'm running at the beginning of the show, and I jump off this platform. I land on the puddle, and I just start barrel rolling down the arena floor.
No.
And nothing sucks the cool out of you.
Like a barrel roll.
Rolling on the ground, and my tails were over my head. And I'm like getting up, like.
What do you do?
You get up and you keep going.
keep
Like, what are you
going.
going to do? And so that was really embarrassing, but yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you have all the animals too? Are there like tigers and bears?
There was
and...
tigers and we had elephants. Ringling Brothers since had, it was an old business model. And they lived on the train, they had animals. A lot of people, got upset with the animals. I personally can only tell you, I never saw any animals mistreated. I can only tell you from personal experience.
Yeah.
Whether animals should be in shows or not, that's a different debate. But as far as the treatment, I personally never saw any animals mistreated.
Yeah.
Ringling Brothers just reopened, and now they changed the formula.
Okay.
No animals, no ringmaster, no train. It's a little bit different. It's an exciting show. I was on that.
Who owns that?
So.
Is that private equity backed?
No, it's a private company. Feld Entertainment is worth about $3 billion.
Whoa.
One man and his daughters own it. They bought Ringling Brothers Circus, who knows, 50-something years ago. Feld Entertainment is a parent company of Disney on Ice, Ringling Brothers, Barnum Bailey Circus, Monster Jam, Supercross, Motocross, all the big arena and stadium shows. It's Feld Entertainment. And that's actually where I really learned about business and the business part of the show business, right? And here's something that I love this story. I love this story. And this happened with my friend. So the owner and CEO of Feld Entertainment at the time was a man named Kenneth Feld. And my friend was sitting with him at a show. I don't know if it was circus or Disney, it was some show. And they have intermission. And there's people selling popcorn, cotton candy, and those light ups, the little wand that spin around with lights and all that stuff.
I used to love that shit as a kid.
Yeah, you love it, right?
Totally.
And my friend said that Kenneth, they're sitting at intermission, they're looking around, they're seeing all these spinny lights going around, and Kenneth goes, "You see that light?" He goes, yeah. He goes, now these are arbitrary numbers, but the point will be made. So that cost us $2.25 to make. We sell it for $10. But I just bought the factory, and now it costs us $2.17 per light. It's like an extra, like, cool $2 million a year or something. Like,
I love that.
But basically,
and when he sees the lights, he sees money.
That's right. Oh. And so that was a first, again, arbitrary numbers. Nicole's probably going to text me and be like, why did you say that on the podcast? But the point is made, is that he was such a smart businessman, and the Felds were incredible to work with and work for. I consulted on some of their other productions, and they're incredible people. Anyhow, that kind of opened my eyes to business and acquisition and how they made their money and the merch and everything else, because that's ended up what I did, right? With you as being the person that really also told me to go after it. I mean, I found your content online, your YouTube videos and Instagram videos, and then I joined Contrarian Thinking, and you told me something that was like sage advice, Cody. And you just said, because I'm like, I know showbiz, I know entertainment, I don't know anything about laundromats or HVACs.
Yeah.
And you said, well, look at what you're spending your most money on, and not just try and acquire something to gain the cash flow, but also acquire something that's going to reduce your costs. Yep. And I'm like, duh. And I sell merch, shirts, and hats after my shows. Yep. And so I ended up acquiring a screen print embroidery company. And it was just the exact formula that Feld Entertainment does, is they own these businesses that only serve as verticals to what they're doing, which is their base, which for me is shows.
And now you make all of our merch.
And now I make all your merch.
And what's the name of the company?
Innovative Imprints.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. It's incredible. I mean, I think that's the most beautiful way to do business. Yeah. Is you do a thing that you already love, and you figure out how to make more money surrounding the thing that you love. And then if you're a pro like you buy the company that is already doing the thing as opposed to having to start it up. So I think it's really cool. I loved that story.
Yeah, it's just.
And I bet when you talk to magicians, they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
You bought a merch company. You own all your rights. Like that's really rare." But guess what? Now you have all the middlemen out of it. You don't need the agent. You are the agent.
Right.
You don't need the manager. You don't need a third-party merch company. It's you.
Yeah. I actually, it's funny because I did one of the largest magic conventions in the world was in Las Vegas, and we did some print for them, some work for them, and then I had a booth just saying, hey, here's what I'm doing. And a lot of people walking by the booth, they didn't know it was my booth, number one, and they saw me, they're like, hey, what are you doing? I go, oh, this is my booth. I own the company. And they're like, oh, so you're not performing anymore? And I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, this is my side hustle. My side hustle happens to be, seven-figure business, but like, hey, it's fun. But it's really cool. And I have magicians who I consult. I don't really have a mastermind or anything like that, but there's a lot of magicians who will regularly schedule like Zoom calls with me to ask about advice and things about growing their business and performing. And so I think entertainers are notoriously awful with money.
Yeah.
That's why we hear so many actors, athletes, all these celebrities, and they're broke. And you're like, how did that happen? First of all, that is just such mismanagement, and it's sad because people, well, a lot of it is living beyond your means, but also just not being smart enough to know how to handle it. Yeah. And people think like, well, here's an entertainer's strategy, right? Strategy on money. I'm going to get famous enough to where I make enough money that I don't have to worry about money.
Yeah,
that's like the worst strategy ever. It's not even a strategy. It's a dream. It's a fantasy.
Did you watch the Vince McMahon documentary?
No.
Oh my God, you got to watch it. First of all, fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That guy, that like the stories about that.
I've seen like little excerpts from it.
Oh,
but I haven't watched the whole thing.
It's so good. I think I'm only like 3 or 4 episodes in. And I don't know if I'll watch the rest, but the first part is fascinating because that dude, I get why he is a billionaire multiple times over with the WWE, and I get now. I wouldn't do it all the same ethically, but it would be so funny. He'd be like, he was talking in the interview, and he'd be like, well, what was happening on stage, because he was one of the very first entertainers that was also the owner while simultaneously performing.
Being a character.
Like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so he would be saying, well, at the time we bought this company, we're doing XYZ. And then on stage, the idea was I was having an affair, with my mistress and whatever. And he's like, storyline, because he was talking about that's not real life. That was part of this character set. But what I thought was fascinating is looking at their business model. I mean, they owned everything. They owned the rights.
Right.
They owned all the licensing. They had royalties on all their gears. They bought their competitors. And despite him being a little bit of a crazy person, brilliant execution. And we don't see that enough in entertainment. So I think that's so interesting.
Not at all.
It's such a good watch. That and the Martha Stewart documentary are incredible.
Yeah, those are really, really, because so many people can get like caught up with what you're saying, kind of like the ethics of things. Like, oh, I don't like that guy. It's like, okay, let's remove him for a second and see what he does, see how he does it, see what the execution is, see his thought process, right? Because we're not going to agree with everybody all the time. And that's it's not defending him in any way, because I haven't even seen the documentary. But definitely it was, for me, one of these obvious acquisitions in these verticals that now my deal box and what I only look at is something that's going to serve the foundation of what I do, which is entertainment and showbiz. So all of my acquisitions are verticals, as opposed to going, well, what can I do now? What can I do now? And being split and divided. It makes sense. I'm familiar. I'm aware. This is going to serve me this way. And I also love, do you know the story about Jay Leno? The Jay Leno strategy?
Tell me.
I saw Jay Leno do an interview or read an interview about this, and I was mind blown. And I'm like, Jay Leno is a genius and my, hero. So Jay Leno, so he was the host of The Tonight Show for over 20 years, like 22 years, I think, something like this. He's never spent a dime of his Tonight Show money. And in 20 years, he was paid over $300 million. So he began his career as a comedian, but he also worked at like a car dealership, right? Because we know him now, he loves collecting cars, and he has this Jay Leno's garage and all this stuff. He has hundreds of cars and motorcycles and whatnot. So when he was beginning his career, he would pay all his bills with comedy, right? And the dealership was the money he banked, okay? That was his side hustle. That was his thing. Then as he got more and more famous, he realized, well, I can also afford my lifestyle with the cars and selling them, buying them, collecting them, whatever it is, and that can pay my bills. So he began to save all of his performance money. So by the time he got The Tonight Show, he was paying all his bills and he was living just off of the cars.
Wow.
And he still did gigs though, and he still did shows. So even at The Tonight Show, he would regularly do comedy clubs, even when he had The Tonight Show. And it's this idea that, we hear, I have multiple streams of income, multiple streams, right? Have all these things. It's like, I love that. I don't want streams. I want a river, right? Like, so let's get your river first. Once you have a river, then get your other streams. And I think that so often people try and just think, they hear this buzzword from, whether it's influencers or whatever it is, oh, we need streams. It's like, yeah, that's after a certain point. Once you can, once you know how to handle money, once you know what you're going to do with it, then you diversify.
I love that. I kind of want to close out with two things. One is, we haven't talked a ton about negotiation, but you're very good at it. I want to talk a little bit about reframing and maybe Taylor Swift.
Oh, jeez. I love that Taylor Swift story. I knew that was coming. So reframing is essentially a negotiation. And the idea is this: if I present you with a deal point and you have an objection, okay, the reframe is to present you another option while addressing your objection, but still making the same request. I'm still getting the same point, right? That's a part of the negotiation. So here's what happened with Taylor. I'm working, consulting with Taylor Swift on Blank Space. And it was for her world premiere performance on the American Music Awards. And so it's a production company in LA. They called me to consult on this performance, and they wanted this magic effect. And so what I came up with was the flaming rose. The flaming rose essentially was, she had this beautiful red rose, burst into flames, and it stayed beautiful and pristine. She grabbed a petal from the rose, touched the fire. She's holding fire in one hand, the rose on fire in the other. It's amazing. BuzzFeed named it the top moments of the AMAs. It was really great. At the end, Rehearsals, not so great. So what happened? I came in, and the first day I'm teaching her how to do this trick. It's not working. Like, I can do it, but it's not working for her. And that's no knock at her. It's just that the prop wasn't, and it's more of a special effect than a magic trick, okay? Yeah. And it's just not working. She's moving and she's walking. There's people around her. There's a lot going on. It's just not working. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're coming over to me like, hey, what's going on? Right? Like, they're paying me. I'm consulting. This is a big deal. This needs to work. Why is it not working? And immediately I have to reframe the situation. So instead of going like, hey, Alex, this isn't working. What's going on here? As soon as they came over, I'm like, okay, I need to own it. And they say, hey, Alex, it's not working. I said, I know, I don't want it to work. I go, I don't want it to work. I said, I want it to fail all during rehearsals. That's what rehearsals are for. So that way, we troubleshoot all those things, and it works on Saturday. I don't care if it works today. It has to work Saturday. Wow. And I'm like, we gotta fix this thing. So that night,
I am totally going to use that.
That night, I'm like,
Tanner's like taking notes for every time I'm yelling about YouTube.
You like that? Yeah. Now you know where she got it from. And so I was like, oh man. And that night, I'm like, we got to fix this thing. And so, okay, day 2, day 3, it's working. Okay. And so finally, got through that first bit. Recording one of the rehearsals. Dancers are there, all the things. She now does the trick. The rose on fire. Her hand, she's holding fire. And she goes, ah! And drops this thing. Now, it goes without saying. There's a little gimmick in her hand that allows her to hold fire, okay? Yeah. She burned her hand.
Oh, shit.
She drops this thing.
You burned Taylor Swift?
Indirectly.
Oh my God, the internet's coming for you.
So what happens is she drops this gimmick on the stage, on the ground of the rehearsal studio. The floor is on fire. One of the dancers is stomping it out. The playback stops the playback. Everybody's going, oh. And I'm just sitting there going, and I'm like, they're going to fire me. They're going to fire me. And so now there's like 30 people surrounding Taylor, and I hear, Alex. I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, Alex, did you? And I kind of walk into the circle, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to fire me. She goes, did you put more lighter fluid on this? Because it was so much more hot that time. Like, it was really hot, not like the other time. And I'm like, they're gonna cut this. Because it didn't work the other day. Now it's working. Now she burned her hand. Like, they're going to pull this. So first I said, are you okay? Number one, are you okay? Like, physically, let me see your hand. Like, you're fine. Do you need attention? Do you need medical assistance? What do you need? She goes, no, I'm fine. I said, okay. And since I knew they were going to cut it, I cut it. So I was like, first of all, you're holding this incorrectly. There's a lot going on, and you need to hold it this way, like I told you to. But you have a lot going on. This is really too difficult for you. I said, we need to give you something easier that you can do, because you're having a lot of trouble with this. It's just a little too hard, and maybe something easier is better for you. So we could do something easier. We'll cut this. We'll do something else. And if you tell somebody who is that accomplished and that amazing and that talented, this is too hard for you. And she goes, no, I could do it. I go, I don't know. I think we need something easier. We need something definitely easier for you, because this is too much. Well, as opposed to them pulling it and me losing the gig, I did. Why? Well, it shifts the frame of what's going on. So then she says, no, I could do it. Everybody leaves. They go, let's take 15, and they all leave. And then, choreographer and director comes to me, they go, what is going on? And I said, look, she knows her song. It's a hit. She doesn't need to practice that. She knows the choreography. The dancer knows the choreography. She's just not focused on this because she has so many other things going on. And so everybody left. And for probably 2 days, for an hour, 2 hours a day, it was like me, Taylor, and Chris just rehearsing this. It was just the three of us. They released everybody. I said, you need to get everybody away. We just need to drill this. And so they did. And so what ends up happening is I said to her, you need to do everything with intention. Everything with intention. And so we rehearsed it. It worked great. That night, probably, if you want to talk about nerves, the most nervous I ever been in my career was like this. Because I'm not doing it. I can't do anything. And so Taylor, they had her in this like table and they're flying her up like 20 feet in the air. And I have this rose and I preset it. And they're like, you need to clear the stage. I was like, no. I said, I'm the last person off this stage. You have a problem, talk to her. Like, you know, I need to set this. It is so exact. And so like I'm waiting there and she's like ready to go. It's like right, Pitbull's like, all right, welcome to the, you know, and I'm sitting there on stage and I go, Taylor? And she looked at me, she goes, with intention, with intention, with intention. And I go, oh my gosh, you're amazing. I was like, you know, it's an honor to work with you. You know, you deserve everything you have. You're gonna kill it, amazing. And she goes, oh my gosh. And so, you know, she did it, it went great, people loved it. And, but those are examples of how to take a situation and own it, right? But it does take a certain skill to be able to do that quickly, be able to anticipate what the other person, be it a seller or somebody you're in negotiations with, what they're anticipating, what they're thinking. See, because in magic, the best way to fool you is to know everything that you're thinking. See, if I know what you're thinking, I know how to fool you because I know what you're suspecting. So magicians have clever ways to create a reality, a perceived reality, for their audience to be forced to think a certain way, right? And so that way, once I take you down that path, I lead you down that rabbit hole, I know, well, I can fool you this way because I already know what you're thinking. And so it's anticipating what a seller or someone, whoever you're negotiating with, is going to object to. A lot of my contract negotiations with the casinos or different producers or promoters in shows, whenever we're in the negotiation, I always anticipate all of the oppositions. So like, I want more money. Well, I'm not going to present why I want more money. I'm going to present and prepare based off of what are all the reasons they're going to say no to that. So if I know all their counter arguments, then I'm better prepared to them, you know? It's just like knowing, oh my gosh, I just forgot the book with...
Chris Voss?
Well, Chris Voss, but it's the, oh my gosh, no, I just blanked.
It's not Never Split the Difference. Okay.
Not Never Split the Difference. No, I love that book. That's great.
Yeah.
But it was Art of War.
Oh, yeah, Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu, right? Art of War, right? Is that know the enemy, know the oppositions first before you present your case. I learned this in speech and debate when I was in high school. The best class I ever took, creative communications. And so it was me presenting all their oppositions, knocking them off. Because most people are always playing, you know, offense, and they're going, well, this is why I'm right, this is why I'm right, this is why I'm right. So one of my negotiations with a promoter for a casino one time looked like this, is that I said, okay, and I learned as I came in and I said, this is what I want, X amount. And they were like, no. They just said flat out, they go, no. But I was prepared. I go, well, you're thinking that you're going to pay that. No, you're not going to pay that. I don't want to take money out of your pocket. That's not what we're going to do. This is how we're going to structure. This is how we're actually going to do the ticket prices. These are going to be the levels. These are going to how it's going to be, and based off of ticket sales, based off of our sales reports, based off of this many the years that we have, and the volume of whatever the seasonality. Like I did all the calculations, and I said, and this is without any growth. And we already saw like a 17% growth in ticket sales from year 1 to year 2. So essentially, I'll get what I want, and I just made you X amount more dollars. So I don't want you to pay for that from me. Now, what I learned is I need to lead with that rather than just saying what I want right away. Because I said, this is what I want, and they're immediately turned off. Then I addressed them. And they're already in that.
Dug into their position.
Like, no.
They're entrenched. Yeah.
Right. And what I
Right.
should have done is saying, hey, here's the idea that I think will make us both happy.
Yeah.
If we do this, essentially, I'll make this and you'll make that. That's the better way. I should have done it. But that was a learning curve. And I did that when I was like 26.
Yeah.
And that was like really an early on negotiation, one of the first negotiations I had with a promoter and a residency. And so those things,
You've lived such a fascinating life. What question have I not asked you that you think I should? What story should I be asking for that I haven't asked you about?
Well, I love the idea of misogi, and you've talked about this a lot, right? It's this Japanese, this idea, this cultural idea that says you need to do something that's really difficult and challenging for you every year. Something that the probability of you failing is high. Maybe 49%, maybe 10, but it's possible that you're not going to be able to accomplish this goal. And I started doing this years ago, and I didn't, without realizing it, because I never heard of that. And then someone brought it up, and I go, oh my gosh, fascinating. And something that I did a couple years ago was the most difficult and challenging stunt of my career. I did an escape called cold shock. 100-pound weighted vest was chained and shackled to my body. I was then dropped into 39-degree ice water. And I had to hold my breath in the ice water and pick 3 locks, remove the locks, remove the vest underwater, and then come back up to breathe again. And originally my idea was, I'm gonna fake it. I'm gonna get some fake ice, we'll gimmick the thermometer, whatever, because I've done underwater escapes. We're gonna live stream it, we'll just fake it, right? And then as I looked into it, it's like, well, fake ice, it's acrylic, it sinks, it doesn't float. Oh, okay. So I went to a movie production house in Burbank that was or Van Nuys, and they did all of the movies that Pirates of the Caribbean, 007, any ice and snow thing, this is the company. I was like, so I want to do this set, and then he's like, well, you can get this paraffin wax and dress it up like this, or, oh, here's this really good stuff that looks exactly like ice, but it was like rubber. I go, but the problem with that is that it doesn't sound because it's rubber, and then also it kind of disintegrates.
Oh.
I go, this is going to cost me how much money to do this thing? And I'm just thinking about this because I had this idea, what if an underwater escape, what if the easiest part of the underwater escape is holding your breath underwater, right? Because everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're underwater for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. What if that's the easy part? Wow. So I thought this ice water challenge, and I spoke with some guys, and they said, I've never heard anybody doing this before. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna fake it. And then I realized, I think I have to do this. And I remember telling my friend, Jim, I said, I think I have to train for this. And he said, you're kidding. I was like, no, I really think I have to train for this. And I'd been doing underwater escapes, like I said, for years, but the cold exposure, I started training, and I trained for about 10 months. And I used Wim Hof breathing techniques. But Wim Hof isn't good for breath holds. Wim Hof is just cold exposure.
Really bad for breath holds.
Yeah.
And die immediately.
Yeah, exactly. And so I actually contacted a level 3 Wim Hof. He was near me in Lake Tahoe, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he turned me down. Because I said, I just want to train with you. He goes, what are you doing? I go, I want to do it for this. He goes, no. And he refused to work with me. And I'm like, bro, I just need the cold exposure. I'm going to do free diving techniques, which is different for the breath hold, but the cold exposure, I need these. He just, nope. And I was like, am I crazy? And what ends up happening is I do the stunt, we live stream it. It's on YouTube somewhere, and it's on my channel. It's on YouTube. And I was underwater
We'll
for
link it on the
2
YouTube video,
I was underwater a little over 2 minutes. But the point of this was, so many people asked me, why are you doing this? What's the point? And the most obvious answer is to say, well, marketing, publicity, right? I'm doing a stunt to get some eyes. It's like, that's not why I was doing it. The reason why I did it is because I had this idea in my head, and I thought, I have to try this, I have to do this. And I actually secretly love when people go, you can't do that, right? There's no way. Why would you do that? That's crazy. You're gonna be tired. You're this. Something that I always said, even when I was on circus and I was working and I was performing and 3 show days, doing all these things, and people go, are you tired? I say, not yet. I said, not yet. There's a time to be tired. And it doesn't mean I don't rest. But that was the whole idea. And so I did cold shock because I couldn't not do it, right? And if I had any life philosophy, it would be this. I said, I wake up every day thinking the greatest thing that I'm going to accomplish in my life, I haven't even done yet. Yeah. And if you live that way with that excitement, that enthusiasm, you're like, I wonder what I'm going to do now. Yeah. Oh man, I'm super stoked, right? You're launching a book and you're like, my book's about to come out right now, all the focus, and you're so excited. And one day, this big book launch that you're about to release, Main Street Millionaire, right, is going to be one of the least of your credits.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
How cool is that? So I don't even, like you just said, like I didn't even know you did Ringling. Yeah. It's like, I don't even credit that anymore because I've done, but yet it was huge.
Yeah, it's not on the first page of the resume.
It's not on the first page of the resume. And
I
so,
love that idea. Can
so
you have a
just-
resume so long that the first page is almost,
Yeah.
it's only your last couple of years.
Right. And that's only comes from pushing, I think.
Could you have died doing that stunt?
So what ended up happening, well, I wouldn't have died because I had paramedics there. So we set it up, but I did speak
What do you
with...
mean you wouldn't have died? Like, couldn't you have drowned and they couldn't have gotten you out fast enough?
No,
Or
no. You're not going to drown that fast, that quickly.
No,
What would have
okay.
happened, here was the biggest challenge was that when you're in that cold of water, you have about anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes before all of the blood leaves your extremities and covers your vital organs. So the most difficult part wasn't a race to see how long I could hold my breath and get out. The race and the challenge came, how long is it going to take until I start losing mobility in my extremities?
and fast, because you got to use your little
Fast.
fingers.
Right.
Oh my God.
So the first time I rehearsed, what we did is we had the water level to about to my eyebrow level, and so if I ran into trouble, I could just lift my head up and breathe. And so I had a safety partner training with me all through training. My brother-in-law Blake was there, and he was an amazing guy. He's like Chris, dude. Like they would be best friends. And so Blake was there, and it was so cold and immediate that I couldn't feel the keyhole to put the pick inside the keyhole. And I had this big weighted vest on, and I couldn't feel it. So I'm under there, and I start panicking because I'm just like, wait, I can't even begin. I can't even start. And I lift my head up and I go, get me out of here. And like we have video in one of the training, like he literally, you know, he's a big guy, and so he's like lifting me out of this tank of ice water, and I'm like, I can't feel anything. And so I had to change and adapt the tank, and that was something that I wasn't expecting. I was like, okay, it's going to be cold. I need to be able to, and also ice floats, and so the coldest part of the entire tank was concentrated around my head.
Oh God.
So it's basically you put an ice pack on your head, but it's literally ice on my skin. And so,
Oh, that feels awful, because that's for like 30 seconds you could barely handle. Oh.
yeah. I mean, I was underwater for a little over 2 minutes. I think it was like 2:15 or 2:20, something like that. And so I had to adjust that tech, but that was something that I wasn't accounting for. And I think the stunt was cool and all, but if there's a video of the training video is actually more interesting than the stunt, if I'm being honest. And so anyhow, no, I couldn't have died really because they could have reached in, because there was no lid.
Yeah.
I wasn't locked in, I was being held down.
Yeah.
And so it's like a diver, right? They have weights on them. So if
Yeah.
you release the weights, you'll go back up.
Okay.
So it would have been more about making sure that,
You still had fingers.
Yeah,
like
I
a
could
small,
feel.
tiny little detail.
yeah, I feel it.
Does your family think you're fucking crazy? Like when they like, are they like, what did we do to Alex when he was a young boy?
My dad thinks it's great, but he's also very cautious. He's like, okay, be safe. My mom hates it.
Yeah.
She'll like leave. Like if I do the
I
water
would
tank
leave
escape.
too. I think now even just
she'll
being your
be
friend,
leaving.
I'd
She
be
goes,
like,
I
I'm
don't like
out.
it. I don't like it, and she'll like leave. Yeah, but it goes back to those things where I'm like, I could do this, you know. And I like when people, part of what fuels me too is someone going, you can't do that. No one does that. And it's like, I'll almost prove it to you. This might be like, you know, I'm just, maybe I'm just a little bit stubborn, but it's like, I'll almost prove it to you despite you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I
you think
wasn't
I'm
going to
good-
do it, but now
Now I
I'm doing
really
it.
am.
I've got that same sickness. People are like, why do you keep doing the thing that you do? I'm like, I just think of all the things my haters have ever said, and it just makes me want to be
Yeah.
bigger and build more. So,
Yeah, and that's truly what it is. And people are going, there's no way. I'm doing a tour next spring called 50-50-50. I'm doing 50 shows in 50 states in 50 days.
Okay. I'll take the ice bath, honestly, for the love of all that's holy.
I did a few years ago when I turned 35, a tour called 35 and 35. It was the same idea, 35 shows, 35 days, 35 different cities. And I was like, that was cool. Like I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And then as soon as I came up with that, 5 years ago almost, I was like, you know, it'd be cool, 50-50-50. And I was like, how? Oh man, now I got to do it. So if I had the idea, I got to do it. And I've told people this and they go, that's insane. 50 states in 50 days. And I'm like, people could do that. And there are people who've done like marathons like that. There are people who've done like bike rides in all states and all these things. And it's like, why not? Why them? Why can't I be that person? Why can't you be that person? Why can't you be that person? You have something in mind? Do it.
Yeah.
You're right, do it. Like, because again, the greatest thing you're gonna do in life, you haven't done yet. You haven't even done. So how exciting is that?
Yep.
Like,
Reason to keep living. All right, Alex Ramon, you're the man. Should we do a little magic?
okay, you wanna do, we didn't even do a trick.
We have to do one.
Be like,
we have to do one trick. We have
I think
to.
we're both long-winded, so we could be here all day.
I'm enjoying myself, honestly. It's not for them, it's for me.
Let's do something.
What do you think?
Okay, and we talk a lot about magic. Okay, we talk a lot about influence, suggestions. Okay, I have a deck of cards here, and I want you to think of a card in a deck of cards, but don't think of just the suit. Okay, think of the value. More importantly, the value. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. Just the value. Okay. I'm gonna try and suggest something to you with this value. I want you to think of a card that is an important card, maybe powerful, something strong, something like this. Okay. But it could be any value you want. You could choose the 2 if you wanted, but something that you feel is a strong card that you're connected to. Okay. Do you have that value?
Yeah.
You? Okay. And what is that value?
King.
The King. The King, not the Ace.
I thought about the ace too.
You thought about the ace, but not why not the king? Why not the ace and the king?
Because you said powerful, so I thought maybe it should be the king.
Do you play cards?
No.
Yeah, you would be awful at poker because
that's not the highest value.
Yeah, that's not the highest value. So okay, a king.
Okay.
Now what suit would go with that king?
Spades.
The king of spades.
Yeah.
You could have chose the ace of spades, but
Oh, the ace of
no,
spades.
no, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, look. Here's the deal. I was trying to suggest to you something.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't do a good job because I said powerful cards and I was just hoping you would have said like an ace. Okay.
I thought
so
about an ace.
you thought about the ace? No. Well, what I did is I put all 4 aces face up. So in case any suit that you said, I was ready to go.
Shit.
Okay. Let's say I was suggesting that. That's the ace of diamonds. And you said the king of spades. So you could have said any ace at all. The most powerful cards, and you didn't.
Because I don't know how to play cards.
Well, you're not easily suggestible.
Oh, really?
Or are you?
Probably.
Because these 4 aces I turned face up in the deck, but they came from a different pack. They came from a red deck of cards. And I wrote on them. I wrote the
Get out of town.
King of
Get out of town!
Spades.
What? I was so nervous that I fucked up the magic trick. You know this is my fear.
So is it easy to negotiate with Codie Sanchez?
Apparently, yes. Remind me to never do a deal with you. God, that's so cool.
I always come with a gift for you.
You're the best. Don't do that.
No, I have something, and I just noticed on your stories that right now, choose your hard is like what people are really resonating with, right? And because of that, I think getting a little choose your hard gym towel.
This is sick.
Choose your hard gym towel.
Oh, this is
a
so
way to go.
good.
So
And it clips onto my gym bag?
It
Is
clips
that
on
how
your
that
gym
works?
bag. We got a little like, contrarian thinking, Atlas man, choose your hard.
Dude, I'm into this. Tell us in the
perfect.
YouTube comments if you guys think we should make merch with Choose Your Hard. And if you guys want one.
You are set on not living a boring life.
I'm gonna go mountain biking, I'm gonna sauna cold plunge, I'm gonna work out, and if I have time, I'll work in between. And that's just very simple. And some people are like, you're crazy for doing that. I'm like, you're crazy for not doing that. I think it comes back to simplicity. We're the ones that put the stress on ourselves with the more stuff that we want. If you want to live a simple life, you can.
Literally the least interesting thing about this next guest is the fact that he just sold his business for a ton of money. And this wasn't even his first business he sold. He sold businesses prior to this. Also, maybe the least interesting thing is that he's partnered with a billionaire, another friend of mine, Jesse Eitzler, who you guys probably know, married to Sarah Blakely and founder of a bunch of other companies. I actually think the most interesting thing about this next guest is that he's going to talk to us about how do you live a not boring life. life? How do you turn your life into one big series of adventures and fun? Which, quite honestly, when I first think about that, my immediate reaction is like, that must be nice for somebody else, because like I have to work. Like I don't got time for this. I don't know. Everybody else has got time for all this fun. But by the end of the podcast, he kind of convinced me of 3 things to do differently this year so that I actually have more fun, so my life is less boring, so that if I come to the end of my days, I will be happy that I lived them really fully. So I think this episode is really important from that perspective. He's going to talk a little bit about his crazy adventures, like Everest climbing it, backflipping off of Everest, like climbing multiple other mountains, like going and throwing a party in Antarctica with Diplo. The list is like so long it's ridiculous. But what I hope you take away from Devin Levesque today is that it is actually possible to build 9-figure businesses, like a company like ProMix, his company. It is possible to build multiple businesses like Running Man and All Day Running, which he owns as well, while having a farm with a bunch of cool animals on it, having an incredible life, living in multiple locations, all while having started by putting up drywall. Just like his father had, working in construction. And so I think this is a great episode of a dude who just said, I'm going to construct my life and I'm not going to let anybody get in my fucking way to do it. I hope you enjoy this episode with Devin Levesque. So I was reading some statistics.
Yes.
We'll see if it's true or not. 800 people attempt to hike Everest every year. Only 50% make it. 5 to 20 people die in the pursuit. And you just hiked Everest, summited it, but you also almost fell off the mountain, or you did fall off the mountain. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so summited on May 21st, which statistically is the most common day to summit in history. Yeah, since 1953, Tenzing Norway and Sir Edmund Hillary summited the first time, as they say. And since then, May 21st has been. And so I summited on the 21st. When I did a backflip off the top, and so, it looked like I almost fell off, but I didn't. I was clipped in, so that's good. And then I started descending down.
Wait, so wait a second. You get to the top of Everest,
Yep.
which takes you how many days?
47.
Wait, it takes you 47 days?
Yeah.
Holy hell.
I know.
Okay, so.
Wild. I got homesick. Nina, my girlfriend, came with me to base camp, which was a great 2-week experience. And then after that, you acclimate, you go up and down through the Kumbo ice fall, try to just, acclimate and get used to kind of what's out there.
But when you're at the top after 47 days of hikes, and my understanding is you have to push really hard for the summit because there's like a window.
Yeah, sometimes never a window.
Right.
Yeah, we got lucky. I mean, there was a open, clear bluebird day, and that's where you see everyone trying to, attempting. Everyone's trying to gauge what time to leave, what day, because 5, 10, 20 mile per hour winds, really 20 you're done, but 5, 10 mile an hour changes the temperature drastically. So it can go from 0 degrees or negative 10 degrees to negative 50 quick. And if you're up there when that happens, it's tough to get back down.
It's not good.
There's no helicopters after Camp 2. Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, Camp 4, summit. After Camp 2, it's no man's land. It's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And you're not just worried about the weather, you're also worried about your health, you're worried about your gear, you're worried about, your guide, your Sherpa, you're worried about yourself, your mental state, you're worried about the Nepalese. Look, some are super nice and some are a little sketchy. There is, known cases where they'll cut your lines and, push you off. And that's not just Nepalese, that can be foreigners as well, but it's a free-for-all. And
why?
And who's gonna catch you, at 25,000 feet pushing or cutting someone off? So, look, I don't know most of these people, and I just don't. I wasn't trying to trust anyone that close. God forbid something happened. So, I think there's a lot of things going through your brain while you're up there. But after I summited, I was descending down, and I must have been at 28,000 feet where the Hillary step is. I went over it, and 20 minutes later the whole thing collapsed and people fell off. They fell thousands of feet down and dead. So they're still out there, unfortunately. God bless them and their families, but it's crazy. I mean, so
you're not only battling the mountain, you're battling humans.
Yeah, humans, the mountain, health, yourself, gear, your oxygen, weather, God, the Himalayas. You're just there's so many factors. It's not just, oh, I've climbed a couple 14ers in Colorado, I can go do Everest. That's not, that's not what it is.
Not the same thing.
Yeah.
And obviously I've hiked one mountain ever, Mount Baker, and that was like scary enough for me. And but I remember when we were talking in the sauna, you were explaining how like there's portions of the mountain where they're almost vertical. Well, they are vertical, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful that other people aren't sort of falling down on you. And you have to
rubble.
or rubble or whatever.
Rocks.
And there was a story you were kind of telling me about somebody who wasn't clipped in.
Yes. Yeah. So that was from camp 2 to camp 3, say about 22,000 feet up. There was a storm that came up. I was making my push to summit at the time. So I was going up. And once the storm came in, you have to make a decision to come down and redo that hike all again the next day or at all, or just keep going. And there was no weather patterns that extreme in the forecast. And so, I said to Jen and Dr. John, I was like, let's keep going. And, they questioned it for a sec, but, they kind of agreed. They're like, yeah, we think this is going to pass as well. So I kept going up. We kept going up, and we're on this ledge. And, it's about, 1,000-foot drop below you. You're standing on, a couple inches, of snow. And now those people are coming at you. And you have to make your way around them. So you have to clip in one side, clip in the other, go around them, unclip one side, and you have to do that to every person. And one of the girls that was coming down, I didn't know it was a girl at the time. It was two people coming towards me on this, this couple inches on this ledge. She was clipped to her Sherpa, and the Sherpa goes to clip around me, and he didn't clip, and she happened to fall. But they were clipped together, and so she pulled the guy right in front of me. So they both fell. And instincts, I just grabbed the rope, and they were just dangling there. And I think, obviously if I didn't grab that, they wouldn't be with us anymore. But they stuck their feet in, and pulled themselves up. And I remember the girl I saw her hair, and she just looks at me, and I'm like. She's like, thank you. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this is crazy right now. And 10 seconds later, I fell. And I remember I fell, I was clipped in, and I fell, 4 feet. But those seconds, I was just like, shit. I said, shit. I was like, shit. And it caught me, and I was just dangling there. And all I was thinking about was, really, Devin, shit was going to be your last word? Like, that's what you were going to say? The last things you say on earth was shit?
Profound.
And so I'll always remember that. That was scary. My heart dropped. I pulled myself up. But, I mean, it's just scary up there. You don't know the weather. You don't know the people. Everyone's from all over the world. Some people are out there for certain, intentions. Some people are out there for others. And you just don't know. It's a total no man's land out there. And you're just so tired and exhausted and homesick, and it's just crazy. I would never go back. It's not really my jam. I also, I don't want to, put this category out there, but a lot of people that are on the mountains, a lot of men and women that I met are single. I'm a family guy. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I love being around my community. There's a lot of lone wolves out there that are just out there, and which is fine, but conversation is just a lot different with them versus, some of my best friends who have, 3 kids, a wife, and, we have different values in conversation. So I'm not saying I'm not about the mountaineering community, but there's definitely a lot of lone wolves when you start to go to these, more profound mountains and high altitude places.
Oh, I can only imagine. I remember we kind of got right when COVID had hit and was done, actually. So quarantine was over, whatever. Our guide was an Everest guide, but he hadn't hiked or climbed or whatever the appropriate term is for all of COVID because they were shut down. And he lived right outside Mount Baker, which is where we're going. So he ended up being our guide, but he was this hard ass, right? He's with like 7 chicks like me. We're like, like no fucking idea what we're doing. Never done a mountain, shoes breaking. We're a total nightmare. This guy must have hated his life.
And but it was really interesting talking to him because he was exactly that. Like he was one like, God, Mount Baker's for pussies. He's like, what are we doing here? He's like, well, why are we even here?
What's
and then
going on?
number two, you know, I asked him, I'm like, God, how often are you gone? Why do you keep doing this? What drives you? And he was just a very different human. He had like a singular, almost addiction to that climb somehow.
Which is cool. But you know, I also, I put those people in the same category of humans that are in the rat race on Wall Street. It's the same thing. It's just a different industry. You know, you're still trying to climb the biggest mountain and do it the fastest and be out there. And, you know, it's the guys and girls you see on Wall Street that want the bigger deal, want to invest more, want to make more money, want the car. It's the same rat race. And I just don't see that as freedom. Even if you're out in the middle of the mountain by yourself, you still have this mindset of more. Business, more, mountain, more. Like when you're in that, you can't get out of this. You can never be calm. You can never find true calmness if you're always wanting more. And so I think, you know, I noticed that with some people out there as well. Like, man, this isn't calming. I came out here to be calm. I came out here to calm my mind. And
why did you decide to hike Everest?
I've always wanted to do it since I was a kid. I want to see what it feels like to stand at the top of the world. I wanted to see what my body's capable of. I enjoy learning the different gear and, meeting the different cultures and food. I wouldn't recommend Nepalese food, but, I dropped out of college. I used these different high altitude mountains and embedded myself in these cultures as my school. Like this is my learning experience. So, I've had some of the craziest conversations, in Antarctica on Vincent or, on Aconcagua, with, this random, business guy who started this, drink, in Mexico and is now selling it in 7,000 stores. And I'm just like, wow, like I would have never learned this in college, and how is he doing it versus the US? And then I meet this one European who did the same thing, but in Europe. So like it opened your brain into kind of what's out there. So one, learning, curiosity is big for me. Two, just what is my body capable of? And then three is, I speak about this a lot, but Marcus Aurelius has an amazing quote: the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to real strength. And so I want to try things and do things to help calm my brain as much as possible and find calmness, being able to, focus on one thing at a time and being able to turn this guy off when I need to. It's stressful, and I think we grow old fast if this thing is constantly racing. So being able to, add in some calmness and no phone and no society and no parents telling you what to do and no boss or no one. You're just on a mountain. You're worried about yourself and that other person. You're not worried about likes or views on Instagram. You're not worried about how much money's in your account. You're not worried about that next big business venture and, if it's delayed or not. You're just worried about staying freaking alive. And it comes back to the simplicity of life. And so that's what I gain on these mountains, is just like simplicity.
Here's a question for you. How much of your life do you actually control? And you got to be honest with yourself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That was Marcus Aurelius. And it's as true now as it was 2,000 years ago. So are you in control of your life, or is it controlling you? Wealth doesn't come from sitting out and sticking to the safety net of your comfort zone. It's built by acquiring equity or owning something: your time, your choices, your assets. The richest people in the world, they know this. The wealthiest demographic of the US right now, ages 55 to 59, understand this concept, and they own the most businesses. That's why this February, I'm hosting a 3-day virtual event that's unlike anything we've ever done before. It's your crash course in taking ownership, from finding the right businesses and spotting opportunities to negotiating deals and securing financing. We're not just talking theory, we're giving you actionable real-world coaching to help you build lasting wealth. This isn't just an event. It's a movement, what we call Owner Nation. If this is interesting to you and you want to acquire businesses, acquire more businesses, or grow your wealth, then I think you should be here. You should go to codiesanchez.com/MSM. There'll be all the information for you. Did you start doing these crazy adventures before you had some money and freedom?
Yes. Yeah, I would say the first big one was the bear crawl. I wanted to see,
So you didn't have any cash. What were you doing for a living at the time?
I had a training business.
So you were in fitness?
Yep, fitness.
And you were probably not making what you wanted to make? Or just
I
kinda
was
normal?
happy. I mean,
Yeah.
I was living I was making
How
what
old
I
were
needed.
you?
20 was in 2020, so 5 years ago.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm 32, so 27.
God, you've lived a lot in that
In the last 5 years,
in
I've
the last 5 years.
done a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And before that, you were just quote unquote kind of normal. You hadn't done these crazy adventures.
No, I was running nightclubs in New York City.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a wild progression.
Yeah.
So
And
what?
before that, I was hanging drywall. I was doing construction.
Interesting.
Yep.
So how did you go from hanging construction to having a bunch of businesses, climbing Everest,
Yeah.
bear crawling marathons?
Curiosity. I'm just really curious and try to just do my absolute best in every single thing I do, whether I'm pouring you some D-bloat, whether I'm making you a coffee, whether I'm on this podcast or, going to work out in the gym this morning. Like I want to do my best every possibility I get. And so any opportunities I've had, I think I just give it 110% no matter what. But, I grew up in a blue collar household and my dad hung drywall. And then when he passed, I got sent to military academy, got a scholarship to play football and baseball in college. And then dropped out. And I was like, this isn't for me. I started bartending, bar backing, trying to make some money in the hospitality world, and just I was the best freaking bar back in the world. I was a bartender's best friend. I will make your job as easy as possible. And I told myself, I'm like, look, bar back is, dishwashing and bar back is one of the lowest positions in hospitality, but I'm going to be the best freaking one out there, And then the restaurant owner saw that. He's like, do you want to bartend? I'm like, yes. And then all of a sudden they're like, do you want to manage the place? And I was like, yes. And then all of a sudden I had an opportunity to open my own spot. And so it's literally just giving it 110%, every time.
What would you tell a young Devin today listening to this who's like, man, I don't want to live a boring life. I want to adventure. I want to do incredible things, but I don't really have much. Maybe I'm doing drywall right now too.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
I would say break up with the girl or guy that you're with and go travel around the world and get into hospitality and work at different restaurants around the world, learn different languages, and just be a good, kind human. Be kind, work hard, and just learn and be a sponge. Don't be a know-it-all. Just take it. And in that time, figure out where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years and then work backwards. Is it a ranch in the middle of Colorado with cows and a wife and kids and, your pickup truck and whatever it is? If that's what it is and that cost X amount of dollars, work backwards. How can you get there, right?
When did you make your first amount of cash?
How did I make my first amount of cash? I mean, I was training people in New York, and so I saved up some good money there, and then I built a training business and sold that. And that's kind of how I made my first million. And then I kind of
Doing
just
kind
started
of a normal business.
very normal, but I had clients.
Yeah.
And I had cash flow with that. And then we had this product, a meal prep, and someone recognized that and they needed those clients. So if you have something that someone needs, you can sell that.
Yeah.
Anything. If you want to drink some water and I have the glass, this is for sale.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think you have a glass.
I have a glass too.
So I don't know. I just think it's creating things you like to do, because I think the passion and what you love is going to take you through the hard days, right? I used to love training people and making people struggle and sweat and sometimes throw up and get back at it, puke and rally. Like I used to really enjoy and working out with them. I used to enjoy it. I still do sometimes I'll just train my boys for fun and have some fun, but I genuinely enjoyed it. So the days where a client said, hey, meet me at 4 a.m. I'm like, frick yeah, let's go. I'll show up. Let's get it done. Let's get after it. If you don't have that passion, then it's just not
Hard to
it's
compete.
not worth it. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not, you're not going to compete against me. If I like to wake up at 4 a.m. and work out and you don't, but you want to start a training business, we're not, eventually I'm going to, surpass you. So
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to beat obsession, I think.
it's almost impossible.
Yeah, they can beat intelligence,
Right.
but it's super hard to beat somebody who's obsessed, more obsessed than I am.
I agree with that.
One of the things I liked too, last we were chatting, is I was saying to you something like, oh, I'm going to do this work thing related. And you were like, yeah, I'm going to Aspen. I'm going skiing tomorrow or something, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, do you seem to go skiing or things like that a lot.
Yeah.
Why can you do that so often? How do you integrate so much adventure into your life?
Yeah.
Now people might say, well, you're successful. He has money. He can do that. But there's plenty of people who have more money than you or I that do not do that.
Yeah.
But it seems like you are set on not living a boring life.
Yeah, I put it first on the calendar. That if I'm making my calendar throughout the day, I'm going to go mountain biking, I'm going to sauna cold plunge, I'm going to work out, and if I have time, I'll work in between. And it's very simple. And some people are like, you're crazy for doing that. I'm like, you're fucking crazy for not doing that. That is crazy to me that you're not doing the things that you like and you're not having fun. It blows my mind actually when people put work first and money first and like the things they think matter first. And then they're all like, man, I wish I went there. Man, I wish I was mountain biking more. Or I wish I went and travel. So go do it. Put that first and everything else will follow. Okay, maybe your exit is, or your acquisition, you selling the company is delayed a couple of years. But you had fun. At least you had fun, and you put the fun first and the things you love first. People do it backwards.
You're right, we do. Actually, my husband always says there's 100% ROI on fun, which I think is not how my brain works.
Yeah.
But don't you ever worry about, like, what do you say to somebody who's like, but what if I do that and then I can't make enough money or I can't live?
You can make. I can make money selling freaking flowers, training people, going to get a job as a barista. There's a million ways in this world to make money. I could go pick up dirt, put it in a glass jar, holy sand on it and sell the sand. Like it's not that hard to make money. It's very simple to make money in this world, especially in the United States of America. It's the biggest brand on planet Earth, the USA, right? It's not hard, especially in the US. If you're not in the US, I see people make money in Tanzania, Africa, selling random cow hides on the side of the road. Like there's random things that people just do in this world to make money. It's not complicated. It's just do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
And people are afraid, well, that's too much. That's too small amount to make. That's not enough. Well, that's on you then. You know what I mean?
You got to start somewhere.
When I rode my bike across America with a guest you had, Jesse Itzler, it was interesting how many people lived in tents and how many people lived a simple life. And they chose to live the simple life. They chose not to have the bills. They chose not to have, the cars and the watches and the rent in New York City. They chose to live a simple life. We're the ones that put the stress on ourselves with the more stuff that we want or the more things that we want to do, right? We put the stress on ourselves. If you want to live a simple life, you can get a tent. It's $100 on Amazon, if that, and go find somewhere on this earth, because the earth is big, go live in a tent. You have a fire, you have shelter, you get food. That's it. It's very simple. And we add the stress.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I'd give you shit about that as a thought, except you've actually done it in a bunch of countries and in the US. So it's sort of interesting because you spent time in Africa. We were just talking about your drink that you gave me. And you've done this. You've sort of like camped all over the place. And
I've stayed in hostels. I've lived in tents. I've lived in mansions. I've lived in a lot of different types of places. And what I've come down to is simple, like simplicity. I try to clear my closet a couple times a year. I try to give away stuff. I try to have minimal amount of equipment in the kitchen. I try to have, just simple things. Try to wear the same shoes every day. Try to, similar shirts, similar pants, a couple of people are watching, they know what I wear. I wear like the same 5 things pretty much, and I try to. I try to live as simple as possible. And sometimes I get out of it a little bit. I have some fun, but I think it comes back to simplicity.
You partnered with Jesse on a couple of big things.
Yeah.
He, I imagine, gets a lot of people asking him to partner on stuff. How do you get somebody who is big and famous and maybe a billionaire to partner with you and to decide that you're the guy?
Well, one, we're friends first. We like to sauna. We like to cold plunge.
How'd you meet him first?
I met him. When I bear crawled the New York Marathon, he reached out, congratulated me. So that was like our first intro.
You did an interesting thing, and then an interesting human found you.
That's it. And then I went to his event, 29029. We hung out, had a crazy 36 hours. And then we kind of just stayed in touch. And he's like, hey, want to come to my house to sauna cold plunge? Yes. I have one rule. Jesse asks you to do something, you do it. And so I went down. And then he's like, yo, that was fun. You want to go to the Hawks game? Cool. Done. You know, hey, you want to do this? Yeah. And I just kept saying yes. But each time I wasn't looking for anything. I was never like, Jesse's going to be my business partner. I never even thought about business with him. I was just like, this is a fun guy to hang out with. We have similar values: family, health, community, freedom of time, giving back. Those are my 5 main values I live by. And that's kind of what he lives by too. So we align on values. And we just, I don't know, there's no egos. We just like to have a good time, host people, sauna cold plunge. And I think we enjoy each other's company. And when he came to me about all day running, to be honest, I didn't even look at the paperwork. I know how much equity I own in the business, but like, besides that, I was like, I trust this guy, you know? I saw it, DocuSign came in, I signed up, I'm like, let's launch this thing. It wasn't there's some people in the world that you just trust, you know? Yeah. It's like it's a good old handshake deal. And that's kind of how him and I roll. And there's no hidden agenda with us.
You know, it's interesting because that was one of Warren Buffett's famous lines was, one, you can't do a good deal with a bad guy, and that a contract won't save you. And so I think there's actually a lot of wisdom in that. Now, I am a crazy person and get very particular with contracts, but I think when you're young and you don't got much to lose, you can really shoot yourself in the foot by putting all of these what ifs in there. There's not even a what to start with.
And like all day running, we all started at zero. We started at 0 sales. We started at 0 followers. We started at no one coming to Running Man. We all started at 0. And then him and I had the agreement of, okay, let's build this to something. Him and I started at 0 with all day. Now, then we're building this together with the team and everyone. So I think everyone has to understand, everyone starts at 0. It's not like, oh, it was just handed to you overnight. Everyone starts at 0 followers. Everyone starts at 0 views on the podcast. Then you're like, dang, I got my first 10 views, 20. I got my first 1 million views. This is crazy, right?
That's
like
right.
we all
That's
start at 0. And so the what ifs are so unnecessary just in life. What if it doesn't? We're naturally thinking that, but we're all starting at 0. So just go. Just say yes.
Yeah. But now you have All Day Running Company, which is that what owns like Running Man and the biggest sauna and all those things you have? What does that all encompass?
Yeah. All Day Running, we started with like 20 different concepts. We started with a calendar. We started with, daily workouts. We started with gear. We started with a monthly call. We start with run clubs, and we do that on purpose. Throw it at the wall, see what sticks. That didn't kind of work. That worked. That didn't work. This didn't work. Cool. Yes. No. Running Man was a festival. It came down to schedule. Jesse and I have limited time, so this allows us to do it once a year. It's a blank canvas for us. We can do whatever we want there. It's fun. It's what we like to do. And so, we launched Running Man 3 years ago. We're going on, this is our 3rd one this year. We'll have
explain what it is really quickly.
Running Man is a running festival in the health and wellness community where there's no first place, second place, or third place. You have 3 days. We put the timer on, and you can run as much as you want. Whoa. Some people sign up for 5K and end up doing 50 miles. And you can walk, run, crawl, do whatever you want. In between, you can stop. You have a tracker on. You could stop, go hit a sauna, grab a beer, listen to Mike Posner play, hit a goat yoga session. You can do whatever you want. It's just it's Burning Man without the drugs. And more running. That's all it is. It's a cool idea. It's a 3-day festival in Georgia, and we just host it. We go down and literally just party for 3 days.
Yeah, you guys invited me, and I was like, I hate running. I'm so nervous. This sounds awful. I have a conflict, but I'm going to come next year. I told Jesse.
Last year I did 4 laps, and then I had 30 beers. That was my running. That's what I did.
That's amazing.
That's what I did at Running Man last year.
What's kind of nice, because with the new year and everything, you're thinking about goals, and it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And sometimes I can get really prescriptive, but half the time it's just directional. Right. Like go someplace where more people are running, where you could be running more often, and you'll probably do some more, and then don't get that serious about the time or the specifics.
Yeah, don't get serious. Life's too short to be too serious.
Is that a motto of yours?
Yeah, look, there's some things where I'm like, what the frick? But a lot of times I'm like Chinese farmer, right? It's you just got to kind of go with the flow. You know,
What do you
kinda.
mean by that?
So my girlfriend showed me this clip, Chinese farmer. If you're listening, you should go watch it. It's 2 minutes maybe. And it's basically about this Chinese farmer that, you know, he goes through all these obstacles in life, and each obstacle actually ended up being what it was supposed to be. It wasn't right and it wasn't wrong. It's just what it was supposed to be. And that's kind of the gist of it. Life is just what it's supposed to be. You know, if we mess up on the podcast, that's just what it's supposed to be. You know, if I say something out of line, if I say something good, that's just what it's supposed to be. And so it's not overthinking good or bad. It's just going and just kind of going with the flow.
What do you do when you make mistakes? Like, how do you get over a mistake? Is it that?
I just don't make them again. Yeah. I know what I did wrong or I messed up on. I will never make that mistake again. And it's embedded in my brain. I make it a point, to the point where I'll tell people I made that mistake. Because with learning, if you read it, you speak it, you teach it, that's how you embed it. And so I like to tell people my problems, or not problems, my mistakes, I should say, you know,
Interesting.
because then it's embedded. I will never, bring on these 10 influencers at X amount of dollars and launch them at this and do blah, 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 blah. I'll do it this way next time. And now I know forever I'm not going to, make that mistake again.
Yeah, that's kind of important. I think often when I make a mistake, the way I repeat it is you try to hide it. You're like, whoops, that didn't really okay, we'll just kind of scan over that.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like the universe is kind of like, hey, man, remember this
Yeah.
happened? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I embed it. I speak it, and I'm okay with that. Look, we're all human. I've made a lot, obviously a lot of mistakes. I think it's okay. It's good. That's how we learn. I look at mistakes as that's a school. That's the learning experience. I made an investment maybe like 4 years ago, and the investment it was a small amount. I think it was like 10 grand to make 250. It was a great return, right? And on the day where I was supposed to cash out the 250, I didn't know how to cash it out. And so it delayed, and the stock essentially started dropping so that 250 went to 50. And I was just like, holy shit, that was a $200,000 mistake I just made in one day, because I just simply didn't know how to cash it out. And I was really furious for a couple minutes, and then I was like, okay, I'll never make that mistake again. That was a very expensive, learning experience, but it was a learning experience nonetheless. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, you just
and
move
I will,
on.
Cody, I'll never make that freaking mistake again. I promise you.
What's the mistake? Invested in the stock market with quick returns,
Yeah,
or not knowing how to cash out? What's the
Not knowing
mistake?
how to cash out. Yeah, I didn't have the right system set up and people set up to cash it out. So
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, that's happened to me a lot. A
Okay.
lot of times when you invest in private companies, before they go public, you have 90-day lockup periods, right?
Yeah.
And so, you might think you're doing really well on the private side, but then when they went public back in our cannabis days, we had a lot of companies where, man, they did great for those first 30 or 60 days. But I
Right.
was just sitting there like, God, I don't think they're going to make it to 90, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So I never really like investing in the stock market for that reason. Too
Yeah.
many other people can influence your outcome.
yeah, I have a little bit, but I don't really do stock market. I like
Yeah.
private stuff I can really control.
Yeah, one of the things that's wild that you have that I was looking up is you own a farm now.
Yes.
Tell me about the farm. What made you buy
one?
a farm? Oh, you have two now?
Yeah.
Well-
I have one in Austin,
Oh.
Cedar Trunk Ranch.
Okay, I don't know anything about that one. I know
Yeah.
about the honey farm.
Yeah, Sweet Honey Farm.
Uh-huh.
Sweet Honey Farm. Bought it as my home. It's a farm. It's it's a working farm, and I had an open door policy to my friends. Come by. I harvest my cows. I harvest the food in the garden. Here, come get it.
And like by harvest, you're there? Like you're
I have a team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up
So you
in
hired some
Idaho and New
people.
Hampshire on a farm, and so I know what needs to be done. But yeah, I have a team that runs it.
Is that really expensive?
It gets expensive. Yeah, very expensive if you don't have a revenue stream in.
Yeah.
And so I kind of noticed that. I was like, this is a black hole if I don't, sell the meat, or I don't sell the garden goods, or I don't put some type of cash flow onto the property. And so with farms, you can do CSA, community supported agriculture. And so I opened up a CSA farm. And so people pay an annual fee and they get access to my farms. And second one's going in Nashville, third one's going in Colorado.
Wow. So it's basically like a subscription to your farm.
Correct.
And I get an allocation of a certain amount of vegetables or meat
or
something.
whatever you want. Yeah, I have the unlimited policy, but everyone's very respectful of, you know, they take what they need. You know,
Interesting.
you don't have people coming in and grabbing 100 tomatoes, and you know, it's not world
Because
end.
you screen them.
Well, yeah, and it's just like people are respectful. Yeah, I screen everybody. I do a sauna session with them.
Oh, interesting.
But most of them, I have a big network. They're a lot of my friends, and you know, just people that come live local around New York City.
Interesting.
And so it's only 45 minutes from New York City, and you know, we play pickleball, basketball, sauna, cold plunge, work out. There's a coffee shop on the property. Pro Mix. I have my Pro Mix juice bar, and my chef cooks stuff from the farm. But it's all my friends, and it's all free. You know,
That's
you
amazing.
pay one fee. There's no upsell. I think
You
there's
can
too
come
many.
whenever you want.
Yeah, come 9 to 5. We're open every day.
Interesting.
There's too many nightclubs. There's too many you know, these clubs where they're pushing alcohol on you. They're pushing all these upsells of, oh, get a massage for $500, and you know, use our hyperbaric chamber for another $500, and you know, grab a dinner with your friends for $2,000, and you leave. You're like, oh my god, I spent $4,000 at this freaking place. I don't want that. It's $7,500 for the year, and you get everything. And it's I'm just putting, you know, I'm not serving alcohol. There's no drugs. It's just very come and feel good. And so it's attracted a lot of founders, you know, a lot of people that I would say there's maybe 20 members there that have all sold their company for over 200 million. They cashed out and they just come for the day and hang out.
I love that because they get to be the gentleman farmers, which is
They
like a
do.
new thing without all the
Ride
heartache
horses,
yeah, you have giant horses there that I've seen.
Yeah, big boys.
Do you also have mini ponies?
I have one mini pony,
I'm
Buttons.
into that. I'm coming.
He's tiny.
Buttons.
The kids
is
can
his
ride
name?
him.
Oh, that's
The
amazing.
big Clydesdales.
Yeah.
They weigh 2,500 pounds. They're huge.
That's
and then
wild.
I have a couple Arabian horses, a couple Mustangs, you know, the tiny horse, cows, Scottish Highland cows.
Oh yeah, the cute ones,
Yeah.
fuzzies.
300 chickens.
300
Yeah.
chickens?
100 chickens are meat chickens, so I'll harvest those in
Got it.
6 weeks, and we just got them. And then
How do you decide if it's a meat or a ongoing
just 2 different
chicken?
types of chicken.
Okay, it's not personality
Yeah.
based. No,
Maybe.
there's no scorecard.
Kinda,
Like you
yeah.
get to stay.
Yeah, if
you
they're
get to go.
pain in the ass, they turn to meat.
Okay.
Meat
Tracks.
soup. No.
No PETA
and then the other
listeners.
chickens, they produce eggs. And then everything from the garden goes to the eggs, or goes to the chickens. They produce eggs, and we eat them. And
Wow, this is a big enterprise.
it's a super fun project. I love it. It's kind of, you know, some people sell their company and invest in restaurants. This is kind of my restaurant. This is not a restaurant, but it's kind of my hobby, and it just attracts really good people.
And you're going to open up around the country.
Yes.
Wild.
There's 10,000 people on the wait list.
That's crazy from your videos.
Yeah.
You have a big Instagram where in as far as I can tell, you document this stuff. It's not that much content creation. It's like, today I'm doing a 47-hour long sauna with all my buddies, and then you document it.
That's it.
And then through that is how you get the 10,000 people on your wait list.
Yeah, I'm just raw, authentic. I don't want to use the word authentic because I think it's overused, but it's raw. I mean, I try to put out as much raw stuff as possible. I don't enjoy seeing things online and then meeting that person in real life, and they're too.
Dude, it's not the
I'm
worst.
like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's not my vibe.
Yeah, it
I
always
want
makes
you to
me
get
sad. I'm like, I wish
Yeah.
I didn't meet you because you seem super cool online. And I wish
Right.
we could just stay there. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I just want to. My definition of success is being yourself 100% of the time. And so if I can be myself to you, or to the president, or to someone I just randomly met in the airport, or whatever, I think that's success.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you don't have to put on show. I think a lot of time we don't have to put on show, right? We just do for
Yeah.
whatever reason. Insecurity, we're young, we're idiots.
Yep.
I've done that many, many times. Of
course.
And then you realize, like, actually, everybody can tell.
Yeah.
Eek, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
And you'd probably be cooler if you just acted like who you were.
Way cooler.
Yeah. Plus, the internet's full of everything. I
Yeah.
mean, you have a bunch of people that want to follow you talking about horses and honey and working out. And there
Yep.
are people that are really into like anime and popcorn.
It's
Audience
insane.
for
There's
all.
8 billion people, and everyone has different interests.
Yeah.
You know, and you're never going to please everybody, obviously.
That's very true.
You know? So it's like, just do what you want and what you like, and then what you put out in the world, that's what you attract back in. It's a law of energy. It's very simple.
Do you think that a lot of this sort of free thought and being who you are and living this big, huge life goes back to sort of your dad? And you've talked about some of this publicly before, but, you know, how he passed
Yeah.
and your relationship with him.
Yeah. I think he was he did what he wanted. He was very stubborn. Yeah, he was a stubborn, like curious, he climbed Mount Rainier. He climbed some mountains. He was in back when he was a kid. He was Boy of the Year for the Men and Boys Club of America. He got invited to the White House. Like he did some cool things as a human, but he was definitely very stubborn in the sense of he just wanted to do what he wanted when he wanted, And so I think that probably translated over. My mom's like that as well. All my sisters are very free spirit. They all, one lives in Hawaii, one lives in, Oregon and New Hampshire. Like they're all over. Everyone's very independent and doesn't necessarily let society impact the decisions, or a degree, or what society calls success. It's kind of like I was taught to like define success as my own, and so I don't know. I think all my sisters and kind of how I grew up was always like that, and so I don't know. That's just how I live.
Yeah. Do you think that kids these days need to go to school, that university helps?
I think it depends on, how you learn. I think some kids are amazing in school, and that's they need to sit down and they need to be taught, X, Y, Z on a board. And some are like, I need to be outside and be touch with my hands. Some are visual learners, some need to read it, some need to listen. I think once you understand how you learn, then freaking deep dive into that. I know me learning is sitting here with you, or traveling to different mountains, or climbing to top of the world, or, putting my body through mayhem, in the bear crawl, or riding across America, or going to Antarctica, or hosting an event with Diplo in Antarctica. Like, I don't know, just like doing different things.
Did you do that?
I did do that last year. That's my school though. You know what I mean? That's my school, not... So back to I think some school is great, but what's your school? So school is good, but define what your school is. Maybe it's Harvard.
How does one find that?
I don't know. I think you just do. You just go. You just try different things. Yeah.
So say you try a lot of stuff. I think a lot of people don't know if they like it or not. Like, what's your process for like, I'm not going to do this again. Or I liked that. That was great. Do you sit and think about it? Is it just a feeling? Do you go with your gut reaction? How does a young person actually decide what is their school?
I don't know. If you get those butterflies inside when you're doing something, you're like, that was fun. Like think of a time back when you were a kid or a teenager or in college or any time in your life, and you got those butterflies inside. Was it helping someone? Well, then maybe you should try some philanthropy things. Was it building something? Maybe you should look into architecture, building houses, building a company. Was it reading? Maybe you're meant to be a freaking lawyer. Maybe you love reading. Maybe you're meant, you know what I mean? Like everyone's different, but you got to try. I've tried so many things. And so I know exactly how I learn, and I just deep dive into that every day. You know?
What did you do with Diplo in Antarctica? Which is a weird question to ask.
Yeah. We hosted 150 people on a ship on the coast of Antarctica for 7 days. We jumped in the water. We, had, saunas, and we did yoga, and he performed, and it was just a fun 7-day trip in Antarctica with 150 random people.
Why? So you just do kind of like these, it's almost like mini businesses.
Yeah.
Like there's just like this is a cool idea. Let's try it once and see if it works.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Have you always done that?
Yeah. I mean, I was in survival mode since I was 16, since my dad passed away. I got to pay my bills. I don't have anyone paying my cell phone bill. So I got to pay the $60 a month. How do I do that? Okay, well, what if, I was in military academy at the time and no one would, pay for my cell phone, and, every other parents were paying. I didn't have that luxury. So I was like, how do I pay for this $60 a month? I'm not making any money, but I have $10. And so I remember I snuck out of, I don't think I've ever even told this story before, but I was in study hall in our rooms in the barracks at Valley Forge Military Academy, and I had like $10 on me, and I needed to pay my $60 bill. And so I snuck out the window, and I go to McDonald's. And meanwhile, Valley Forge is $60,000 a year. I was on a scholarship, and so there's a bunch of rich kids there. And I went to McDonald's, and I bought 10 McDoubles, and I came back and I sold them all for $10 a piece, and the kids bought them. And so I was like $100, 60, I just made 40. So now I have 40, and I would do that at study hall, you know? And so I think I was always in survival mode since then. And now I just get, get scrappy and get creative with it. But what I have noticed with people that do get scrappy is that you can go two directions. One direction, you can always be scrappy and sell stuff, but it's snake oil.
Yeah.
And it's quick in and out. The other is you protect your reputation no matter what. And I kind of went that route. I don't just sell stuff. I don't just create stuff just to make money. You know, I want to actually help people and create products. Hence why we started ProMix, right? I was like, man, I grew up in a health and wellness, household. I met Albert, my partner, and, there was nothing affordable with like really, really clean ingredients, like raw, where we traced it back to the farms that we got them from, and we packaged them up ourselves in glass containers. So there's no microplastics or anything. Like, how do we do this? And so we were fixing something for us. And then we were like, I think other people are going to like this as well. Some good grass-fed whey protein, some de-bloat for your gut, some things that we want to use, in our daily habits. And that's kind of how it came about. But it's an honest business. It's not like, oh, freaking tallow is hot right now, let's do tallow, or cryo chambers are hot right now, let's do a cryo business. It's not. I don't like going down that route. I want, a good analogy is nightclubs versus restaurants. Nightclubs are in and out. They're quick, 2-3 years. They're hot in the city. People go to them, and then 3 years later they rebrand, new nightclub. I like the restaurant that's open for 25, 30, 50 years. I want that family-owned restaurant. And so I try to go down that route with businesses and have some longevity to it versus sustainability versus these quick wins.
Yeah.
The quick wins are normally I don't make money on them. They're good marketing plays. They're fun. They're just fun. You know what I mean? Like,
and they attract a bunch of interesting people.
Did we make money on the Diplo Antarctica trip? No, zero. You know what I mean? First couple of years of Running Man, we made no money. Like, these are just fun things we want to do. And I don't know, we just try to bring people together.
Tell me about the trip to Africa where you found this weird nut that you're turning into
seed. Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what the difference is between a nut and a seed.
That's all right.
Do you?
A seed grows and a nut
is
you
the
eat.
End growth? Is that the end product?
Fact check.
Fuck. Whatever. YouTube will tell us.
I actually kind of want to know that. Nut versus seed. A nut you can
eat, but you could eat a seed too. Mm.
Can you?
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
sunflower seed.
What's the difference between a nut and a seed?
What do you think, Christian?
Google is saying a nut is technically a type of seed.
Wow.
The outer shell is considered part of the fruit, while a seed is the reproductive part of a plant that contains the potential for a new plant to grow.
Doesn't it sound better when he says it too? He's
Yeah.
like a plant.
Yeah, can we put that on here?
Yeah,
I want
of
to put that on there.
Yeah,
Wow.
100%.
Well,
we will edit in Christian's beautiful British voice telling us what
Good.
a nut or seed is. So you're in Africa. Where are you?
I'm in Africa, in Tanzania. I was
Okay.
climbing Kilimanjaro, which
That's
I
cool.
recommend. It's a very easy climb,
Yep.
hike per se. There's 14ers in Colorado are much harder, right? It's just fun. So I'm out there. It maybe takes us 6 days. I'm with some buddies. Get invited to the village that we just went up with our guides with.
Is this like a Masai Mara?
It's a Maasai community. It's a couple hours outside Tanzania, and so I'm just eating some goat and some other stuff that they give us, and these kids were coming up to me with this seed, and the seed is huge. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it's called the baobab seed. And the baobab seed has an insane amount of vitamin C and an insane amount of potassium. And so I was like, there's got to be something I can do with this. This is a really cool concept.
So it's like the size of a football?
It's huge, yeah. And so we had ProMix at the time. And when I hear, 4 times the amount of potassium, 4 times the amount of vitamin C, I'm like, I want to take this every day. And so I bring it back to my partner, and I'm like, what can we do with this? And I've always been big in gut health, because gut is, your second brain. It's where your mood, your energy, 70% of major diseases are formed from your gut. And so if you can get your gut on point, you're good. You're that much more de-risked from death or diseases. And the two things in your gut that you really need to be focused on is pre and probiotic. Biotics, pre and probiotics. So they are two bacterias that work with each other to essentially fix your gut liner, to help break down food, right? So it can then go, the nutrients can go in your bloodstream. And most people don't take prebiotics, they'll take probiotics and they think they're taking them with yogurt. But once you have artificial flavors in yogurt, right, or it takes out the probiotics. So like a lot of people aren't even taking probiotics when they think they are. So these are pre and probiotics. There's natural prebiotics in the baobab as well. Put turmeric in it for inflammation, and then organic oranges for flavor from Florida. And it's called D-Bloat, and it helps flush your pipes in the morning, and it helps clear your gut, and it helps fix the gut liner. And it's quickly became our top product. And I mean, you got to see the testimonials here. I mean, people had acne for years, and they started, taking it for a month, and boom, their face is clear. They were constipated on the regular, not anymore, right? People's mood changes when your gut is better, when your gut is healthier, when you don't have a leaky gut, when you have good nutrients, right? I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's really about what you're putting in your body. And if you can put some good fuel in your body, everything else starts to make sense. You wake up with less anxiety. You wake up happier. You wake up like, wow, like I don't feel like 1,000 pounds right now. I feel a little bit lighter. I feel happy, and it all comes down to your gut.
Do you drink alcohol?
I drink alcohol.
You do?
Yeah. I've recently, pulled back on it just based on some studies, and I'm a weed guy.
Yeah.
I like weed.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a weed guy.
Okay, I could tell the hat.
Is it the hat?
I don't know if it's the hat or the overalls.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be shocked if
both.
you told me that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I like
I
weed.
used to do some of it, but it got too intense. Like the amount of THC that they're putting in stuff today, I think is fucking criminal.
Oh, it's
honestly.
crazy?
Yeah, it's got to be real careful. But you probably do like more organic, like as opposed to synthetic. But a lot of the stuff that they're creating like just has never existed in nature before. And
Wow.
so anyway, I'm biased because I was in cannabis for quite a while, and I saw a lot of people starting to get cannabinoid hypermeiosis syndrome.
Which is?
Well, they haven't been able to do enough research on it, so there needs to be more research. But essentially, two of my family members got it. It's where you get violently ill by using cannabis. And this is for people who are using it quite a lot. But it's almost the opposite of what you think with cannabis. Like they give cannabis to people who have, are going through chemo, right? And so this essentially, it turns off some of your cannabinoid receptors is what they think happens. And so it's wild. Like, I mean, I saw it firsthand. A member of my family, for 2 weeks couldn't leave the house. They have like this insane amount of hot showering they do. So like, I remember for 2 weeks, one of them was at my house and he wouldn't be able to get out of the shower. He'd get violently ill. So it would just be like really hot water kind of consistently for 2 weeks straight, basically. Lost like 25 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think
that's not fun.
No, but like everything in life, there's pros and cons. So definitely if you drink too much, you'd have other things. So
But then again, if you drink too much, you might have the best ever time with your boys. You know what I mean? You might have the best story ever.
That's my problem. I love Huberman, but sometimes I'm like, man, where's the joy?
Yeah,
Taking it all.
Sometimes you got to have 30 beers with the boys and just have at it.
Could you have 30 beers at once? I'd be dead.
Yeah, I mean throughout the day. Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
That's funny. The way you shrug it off.
Yeah, 30. Yeah.
Then you sauna and ice plunge immediately following.
Sauna, cold the next day, and you're boom, right back at it.
And you're ready to go.
It's like the Wolf of Wall Street clip when he just gets. Have you seen that clip? You got to put the clip in.
Okay,
right?
what's the
You know
clip?
what I'm talking about.
Christian.
The clip.
Is this like a man clip?
When he
like
just gets after it, and then steam, sauna, gets in the helicopter, back at it.
This is not me. It would take me out for 2 days.
Yeah.
Kind of on that same vein, I've been obsessed lately about and reading a ton of research about young men in our country. And basically, loneliness epidemic, getting married later, not having as much sex, higher suicide rates. And then I see somebody like you that I think could be an antidote to some of that. Like, what do you say or tell to young men who are struggling in today's society?
Get a community around you. Find a community and join it. And also just do the basics, right? Are you drinking enough water? Overdose with water. Are you just getting sun in the morning, right? Are you just going outside, taking your shoes off and just looking at the sun? The community is big because, you know, we as humans make 250,000 decisions per week. And with those decisions, normally they're just up in our brain and we're not talking to anyone about it. When I have a big decision to make, I have a group chat of 12 of my buddies. I call each one of my buddies and I say the exact same issue to each one. Yo, I'm going on Codie's podcast. I don't know her, you know, yada, yada. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, blah, blah, blah. He gives me an answer. I say the same thing. Yo, I'm going on Codie's podcast, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to, he gives me an answer. And I go down the list. And out of those 12 guys, I come up with my answer. And now I'm here in the podcast and I feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously an example, but we go through so many decisions and we don't have people to lean on. And so, yes, the suicide rate is going to skyrocket. You know what I mean? Yes, you're going to be depressed because you're making up these stories in your head. It's called the vicious cycle, right? Of just, well, she didn't answer my text. Well, she didn't answer my text because I was wearing those weird shoes that day. And I was wearing those, well, I didn't mean to wear those weird shoes. Someone gave me those weird shoes. And now, meanwhile, she was at church, you know? And so if we can just calm that voice and we can have a community to lean on, and there's tons of communities out there. I mean, you see all the new run clubs, all the new member clubs opening up, all the, you know, all these new podcasts, all these new just churches, you know, there's so many different gyms. There's so many communities, tech, you know, get-togethers, book clubs. There's communities out there. Try them all. Go try jujitsu, join a book club. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Go to Sweet Honey Farm.
It's a really good point.
Join a community.
I went to a church the other day in a movie theater, a converted movie theater here. It's
Wow.
called Red Rocks. And if it wasn't the best looking group of young men and women I've seen, I was like, Jesus, like this is not what my church was like back in the day. Catholic church, we were a little sad looking. But this group, I was like, whoa, if I was young and single in Austin, bam, I would definitely be there.
Right.
Like ethical, moral compass, young people, care about mission. I mean, all stereotypes, arguably.
Yep.
But I think you're right. I mean, we have two members of the team, Christian would know who, that, do you know what they do, Devin? Tell me if you've ever heard of this before.
Okay.
They go to a bar and they play Dungeons and Dragons.
What?
I know.
Unbelievable.
Super nerds.
Wow.
Love these guys. They're my sweet little nerds. But they go to this. There's a bar every Thursday night where people get together and they play Dungeons and Dragons in person.
That's a community.
It's a community. And I didn't even know. I kind of thought Dungeons and Dragons was like a board game.
Yeah.
But I guess you act it out.
I've never played Dungeons and Dragons in my life. I don't even know what that is. I thought it was a video
open
game.
invitation. I asked them, I'm like, because they're two kind of good looking women who work for me. I'm like, what does the group look like when you walk into Dungeons and Dragons? They're like, about exactly what you think they look like.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they're like, but, you know, it's awesome. And then one of them's funny, Lindsay. She goes, I'm a 12 at Dungeons and Dragons.
She's ripping it up.
She's killing the game.
I also think with that, like to find the community, you have to have the values. Like you have to know what your no matter what's are in life. Too many of us are going through and living off values of, you know, that business you're working for or your boss's values or your parents' values or your grandparents' values versus like, what do you care about?
Yeah.
You know, you're not the same person as your grandfather or grandmother or your best friend. You're a different person. And so it's like, what are the 5 things that your absolute no matter what's are? And once you know that, you can align with people with the same values versus the same industry. You're not going to get along with everyone at that real estate happy hour, right? It's just not going to happen. But you will get along with everyone if they have the exact same values as you. If mine are family, health, freedom of time, community, and giving back, and you have similar values, we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna get along. I'm gonna be able to call you and say, "Yo, man, that workout was freaking tough. You know, that sauna, man, I need a hotter sauna." And you're going to be like, yeah, I need a hotter, like, we're going to connect on the things that we like and the values that we believe in and the health and, take the gut health medicine, take the debloat, right? Like, we're going to connect on that. You're not going to connect with those people at the real estate happy hour.
Yeah. So is that one thing you would tell somebody today? Like, hey, tell me what you stand for. Like, what are your 5?
Yeah.
Do most people that you know have a 5 or a values system?
And people, yeah. I mean, my
Your
friends,
close
my
friends.
group, yeah. But no, not a lot of people do. If I'm to ask everyone listening to this podcast, do you have 5 things you absolutely, no matter what, live by. And if something comes on your schedule right now and it goes against your value, are you doing it? I would say 90% of people are saying, shit, yeah, he's right. Like I do things I don't want to do. My schedule, I'm not doing it. Cody, if there's something on my schedule that doesn't align with one of those fives, a person, a place, a thing, a business opportunity, an investment, I'm just not doing it. I don't give a fuck. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. That's how stubborn I am. And like I'll just tell people no. Not enough people say no. The power of no. What did Nina say the other day? She said, your yes means a lot more if you say no. You know?
She's
It's more
smart.
powerful.
I knew I liked her.
You know?
Wait, so how did you get really set on these? Like those are 5. You've listed them off twice. They're obviously real. You're not prepping for a podcast.
No,
Those are
just-
part of the real deal.
Yep.
When did you sit down and say, these are my 5, and how did you immortalize those?
When I started feeling overwhelmed and not losing direction of life. And I called my therapist guy at the time, and he gave me that advice, Johnny Martin. He goes, he's like, you need to write this sentence on your whiteboard. And the sentence read, if a person, place, or thing does not add value to my life from a family, and I list out my values, family, community, health, freedom of time, or giving back perspective, then it's taking value from me. So if a person, place, or thing does not add value to my life from those 5 things, then it's taking value from me. And I wrote on my board, and underneath my board I had ProMix and All Day Running and Olipop and, you know, all these different companies I started or I invested in or, whatever. All these things I was doing with my life and my schedule. And I simply took a red marker and I started crossing shit off that did not align. And all of a sudden my board got smaller and smaller. And I felt the whole, that feels better. Let's go. Let's go.
So then what do? You call up the companies and you're like, I'm out?
Yeah. You kind of just, you cut,
Yeah.
you know?
I do that once a year too.
You know, I think you have to do it. I think you don't owe anybody anything. You know, you got to be selfish sometimes and worry about your own health and your mental space and how you're spending your time. You know, if you don't own your time, then someone else is going to puppet you around. You know, you got to own your time, but how do you own your time if you don't even know what you want to do with your time? That's where the values come in. It's like the same thing with money. I want $100 million. What the frick are you going to do with $100 million? Do you even know how to spend $1 million? Do you even, like, what do you mean you want $100 million? Well, I can just chill on a beach. You're going to be bored on a beach after day 5. Yep. You want to chill on a beach? No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I promise. Like, you're going to be bored. Figure out what you really love. I love Sweet Honey Farm. I love ProMix. It's fun. It's like, it aligns with my values. My values are embedded in these companies. All Day Running, Jesse, like, it's embedded it. Like, it doesn't feel like work. People in the Western culture separate life and work. Yo, it's all life. It's all 24 hours. It's all life at the end of the day. And so why are we separating things and categorizing? It's life. Our time that we've spent here so far, we're never getting it back, ever. Ever. It's no one's creating a time machine. So it's like you gotta own that time and know how you're spending your time. And I think the values are something you can lean back on to de-risk the decisions, the 250,000 decisions you make every week.
That's really good. Yeah, one of the things that I learned early on, if you're going to invest or do multiple businesses, is that every year you got to prune just like a rose bush. And I remember one of my mentors saying that to me. He's like, I wish that you were smart enough to make the right decision every single time, but you won't be.
Yeah.
And he's like, so if you know you're not going to be, what do you know you got to do? Get a pair of scissors. And so every single year there's going to be some cutting. But I think I fall into the camp of often waiting too long. You know, I'll let him hang on. I'll really try to fix it. I'll try to be the good partner. I'll try to meet them. And I think that is where misery really starts.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
So is this a process that you do continuously on a weekly basis, a daily basis, a yearly basis?
Yeah, all the time. I'm constantly looking at, I don't do anything if it's not in my schedule,
Yep.
an Outlook. I look at my schedule. I mean, feeding the dogs, going to the farm, sauna, cold plunging, it's all on there. And yeah, I look at it every morning, night before, call my assistant, yo, take that off, keep it on, whatever, and just audit accordingly every single day. A lot of the times I cancel calls. I push the calls. I don't want to take the calls. And they're probably great humans and they're doing great stuff for the world, but I'm just not spending my time doing that. Yeah. You know, and you if you're not that way, you'll get taken advantage of. You'll waste your time. You'll have regret 10 years down the road. Shit, I was doing what everyone else wanted me to do, but not what I wanted to do. You got to audit your time.
So true. Yeah. I have a guy I really admire, Tim Ferriss, who's become a friend, and he's coming out with his new book, The No Book.
Cool.
And, you know, he was kind of laughing about, like, you would think it's not that long of a book, but he's like, actually, all these things creep in on you every single way possible. And so life is this series of, like, they want you to say yes to things, and you've got to figure out, how do I say no more often?
Yeah, and then, you know, everyone's going to say, well, how am I supposed to pay my bills? Well, how about the guy I just spoke about that's in his tent in Arizona that doesn't have the bills? Backtrack of what you really need. Not want, need. We just sold ProMix, and I asked all my sisters, what do you need? And they all said, nothing, or we're good. And I know they need something, but they all said, no, I'm good. I'm like, do you want anything? No, I'm good. I don't need anything. I'm like, those are some good sisters. You know, they're not leeching. They're like, how can I help you, Dev? And I'm like, cool. Too many people go through, they think they need something, but really it's just a want. So if you're trying to own your time and you're trying to do what you want, but you feel like, oh man, I'm held back because of bills, or I'm held back because, well, my parents want me to do X, Y, Z because I got this degree and I have to go do. Nah, fuck that. Delete it. Start from zero. Move to Jamaica. Go sell some coconuts. You know, get a place that's $100 a month. You know
We
what
had
I'm
Paul
saying?
Saladino on here. He moved to Costa Rica. He brings coconuts with him to the airport everywhere. You know, one of the cool parts about a podcast like this, and why I like bothering people like you, is because there are so many ways to live. And like when you get to see these other humans, whether it's traveling or just listening to a podcast, you're like, that motherfucker doesn't seem much smarter than I am. Those two aren't that much, and they can live these lives. What's the deal?
Yeah, I'm not that smart. I'm a D
Me neither.
student. I'm like, look, I'm just figuring out like everyone every day, and everyone's like that. I've met the richest people in the world. I'm talking Elon Musk, and I've met some of the poorest people in the world, and every single person in between is everyone's trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Everyone's trying to figure it out every day. All of us. Maybe I was running late today to the podcast. I'm just trying to get through the traffic like everyone else. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. So if we were to end it with one thing, which is, well, actually, you know what I want to end it with?
Yeah,
I was
go.
going to ask you.
Yeah.
Can we do a fun segment?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay. I want to do rapid fire questions on your gym and your farm. Okay.
Jim.
Rapid fire. Favorite animal on your farm?
Sir Peppercorn, my horse.
Which one? Big one?
He's like a spotted thoroughbred. I love him. He's great.
Okay. We'll find him on your Instagram.
Yeah, Sir Peppercorn.
Okay. I like it. Most expensive animal at your farm?
Sir Peppercorn.
How much did he cost to buy?
He's a $75,000 horse.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite piece of gym equipment?
Ooh. Favorite gym equipment? The sauna.
Most expensive?
The sauna. No. Yeah, saunas are expensive.
Is this a special sauna?
Yeah, I have an
Oh, it's
infrared and a
big.
traditional. Yeah.
Isn't it? I think I've seen it on. It's like you can fit a small little army in there.
Yeah, I have a 50-person sauna and then a 10-person sauna, so they're both pretty big.
What does a 50-person sauna cost?
$100,000.
That's wild. Favorite event you've ever been to or hosted?
Running Man.
Yeah, I need to go.
Running
to this
Man's
one.
so fun.
How much does Everest cost to hike?
$250,000.
And 2 months. That's wild.
Yep. And no sponsors. That was all out of pocket. I didn't want any thing deviating me and my brain from drink this, try this, do this.
Good point.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
all
you didn't
me.
want to have to like make content on the mountain.
No. I did test my company ProMix. We created a blood flow product, and it's beets and berries, and it helps get circulation going, so you're a little bit warmer, and blood flow